hello! How's it going, Jacob? How's your day going, friendo? We're gonna be doing some charky stuff today. Charcaronis, I'm just sharpening my pencil. We're gonna do some little things-ski-doodle dandies. What's the haps? What are you up to? Gee dang it, good to see you, friend. I am doing alright. Yesterday was a pretty awful day, so today is going much better. We're gonna be drawing with some charcaronis and pastelaroos today. So, we had a new gal come on here and ask for some drawing stuff. So this should be fun. We'll see how this goes. Oh, you too? Yeah, it was just, yesterday was like a full-blown punch to the face. I got so stressed out yesterday that it actually triggered a migraine. I was so stressed out. It's better now, though. It's just, one of those days wasn't the best either. Yeah, it was just one of those days where literally everything that could have gone wrong, other than maybe being struck by a car, went wrong. So yeah, much better today. Much, much better. Okay. There's one sharpened. That's rough. Glad it's better. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was pretty much a huge fat bummer, but much better now. Yeah, so I think what we're gonna do today, and I hope your day's going better too. That stinks when you have a bad day, though. Is what a what? Hello, Cherry Round. Gee dang it. Good to see you, friend. It was just a rough day yesterday. Now, where did I put that? Oh, there it is. We're going to be doing a happy little charcoal tutorial streamy doodle. So that should be pretty neat. My dad locked me out of the house yesterday by accident, and I forgot. Oh no, you didn't have a house key. That's the worst. What did you do? How's it going, Cherry Skidoodle? Cherry Skidoodle Dandy, I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. And that all your dreams are coming true. Do you dream about having a pony? I hope you get a pony. I got home at 11 p.m. last night and had to break into my own room. Bang on his car and windows until he lets you in. Exactly. Yeah, we actually, in high school, we had to, because we didn't have a house key, and my sister and brother, got in through a basement window, and I was like, I mean, you're not breaking in because it's your house, but it feels like you're breaking in. It feels like I'm committing a crime, except I live here, so I guess it's not a crime. Stay in the AC unit from the shed and crawl through like a horror movie monster. You were like Michael Myers? Different. Two very different people. Okay. So I think what we're gonna start with, I don't know, I'm not really sure. Hello! A super duper blooper, so happy I can see the beginning of something today. Hello there! Yes, so what we're gonna be doing today is I guess a tutorial / question answer thing. Just logged into girlfriend's account. Oh, okay, hello, Jokum. I was gonna say, gee dang it, we got a new friend here. So what we'll be doing today is a question answer thing, working with charks and pastel in a hyper-realistic capacity. So we'll be talking about that today and just the initial steps of what you do. Many of you are already artists, so if you want to just hang out and have some chat-ski doodles, you don't have to have questions. I don't even know if the people who requested this are here yet, so I'm a little hesitant to start, but we'll just we'll do some rambling. So the two things I'm going to be talking about today, or, well, the couple things. You do you. I hope, Jokum, that you are having a fantastic day, and that all is well, friend. So like I said, the couple things I'm going to be talking about is blending and just using the materials and stuff like that, how to use these to their best advantage. Now, I use two different types of charcoal. This one I use this is like a workhorse. If it's you're doing exercises, you're doing practice, I recommend using these. These are just generals. Wait. What's going on? What's on your mind, Sherry? So yeah, these are what I use for exercises, practice. They're much, much cheaper by almost $1. It is flannel. It's my trusty old blue. I love flannel. I have a lot of them. It's a good day. Using this stream to mentally prepare for my stream later today. Oh, neat. It matches your eyes. Does it really? My eyes are like pretty dark. You mean they contrast my eyes? Because like my eyes are real dark. Fantastic, matches your eyes. My checkered eyes. Checkered eyes. I look at you and I can't describe. I got... Sorry, my voice broke like real bad there. Okay, so any hoozles, these are like the cheap little workhorse pencils. I think they're like maybe 89 cents or something like that. Hello! Welcome and blessings at work. But I can hear with the new headphones. Fantastic. Oh, just a cute name. We're talking about sharks today. Let's talk about sharks, baby. Let's talk about drawing. And then these are the other... you give any thought to the thing. What thing? Any thought to what thing? If it's a thing we talked about, I probably gave thoughts to it. Okay, and then these are... Live ultra cheaps. Exactly. So then these are my really high quality pencils. These are Primo Euroblend. Just getting back into drawing, no pressure. Oh no, Oh Just a Cute Name has definitely been drawing for a while. It's just there's been a bit of a time lapse. It's like riding a bicycle, you never forget. So yeah, these are Primo Euroblend 3Bs. They're super, super good, really good range, stuff like that. They're very fragile emotionally, so you do have to be gentle with them. You should be gentle with all of it. Suggested a commission for me to do a simple one. Ooh, that's so cool, neat. What is it gonna be? That'll be pretty neat. You go, Oh Just a Cute Name. Okay, so first thing we should probably talk about, perhaps. That'll be neat. I'm happy for you, sweet. What's it of? May I ask what it is of? Ooh, a Flowerton. Ooh, well, you are like the queen of drawing flowers, so that's pretty neat and pretty sweet. All right, so let me just think for a second. When Oh Just a Cute Name digital squatch, you go girl doing commission. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So when Phil Squatch, Oh Just a Cute Name, and I first learned this technique, the first thing you do, other than learning how to flip and sharpen your pencils, which I just use a razor blade and sandpaper, just so you know, it's the best way to do that, in my opinion. First thing you need to learn to do is line work and how to control the pressure of your pencil. So usually if I'm doing like lines, you want to hold it like you would a wand, like you're flipping Harry Potter. Again, many of you know how to draw, so I feel like I'm kind of like, you know, like preaching to the choir here a little bit. Cheer and Prue, yes, indeed. So what you want to do is you want to kind of practice accuracy with your lines. So I use a maul stick to steady my hand. But let's say you want to connect those two. Can you even see those two dots? I don't think you can. Hold on. Hello, Vintage! Tira, how's it going, friendo? We're doing tutorial. Oh, look at this. How is it going? What's the hippity haps and the bippity baps? I was just talking about line work. So the first thing we learned is how to draw lines. We spent an entire day just doing lines. So, so you just want to kind of connect the two lines as lightly. Well, that was terrible. Yeah, as lightly as you possibly can. Vertical lines are hard. So yeah, you basically just want to get really light lines with pretty good accuracy, which was not represented there. Anyway. Line work's really important. I haven't done these origin destination. That's actually what this exercise is called, is origin destination. So basically just confidently doing lines, accurately doing lines. And that was a great example of what happens when you start doing exactly like just the wobble hands. I haven't done origin destination a long time, but yeah, so that's kind of the gist. Is you want to just, you know, connect the two dots. This is actually a really good exercise if you have issues with drawing like really thick. That was a good one. Really thick, scratchy lines. And you want to be as light as you can when you start your initial drawing, just so you're not having to erase mistakes. So like if I wanted to erase all of those, I use a kneaded eraser. You don't have to rub the paper at all. You just kind of go in and really gently lift it. Because the thing with working with charcoal and pastel is you want to maintain the tooth of your paper as much as you can. Because the more gentle you are with the paper, the more you can build up the material, the easier it is to work with. If you got big erasers that you're like plowing into the paper, 200 psi or whatever, you're going to get rid of all of those little toothy toofs, and you're going to basically wreck your paper. It's hard to do. It is hard to wreck your paper, but it is possible. So I err on the side of being incredibly gentle with it. So yeah, if you ever want to practice doing really light lines, 200 what? I use Canson My Tints paper. Is that what you're asking? Like the weight of the paper? BT Dubs, don't call me out here. 200 what? Oh, 200 PSI? No, I'm just saying, like, what I used to do is I would draw these super thick, like, scratchy, unconfident lines, and then they would be wrong, inevitably, and then trying to erase them, you would just destroy the paper. Eraser strength, yeah, exactly. That was me, seriously, that was me. So it is good to just sort of practice doing these light, sort of confident lines. And you should be able to do them really in any direction. So I found that for me, the hardest was doing lines straight up and down. Those accidentally hit enter and ruined the whole joke. Fantastic. I've done that so many times. Once you kind of have that down though, like, it's not too hard. You sort of learn this in like a day or so, as long as you're not, freaking out about it like I did. Like, I freaked out about this for months, because I was doing it wrong the entire time. So one thing that I found really helpful is, just sort of hold the pencil really lightly. That does help. If you're holding the pencil, more like you would normally draw, you tend to use a little bit more pressure. Another thing that I find really helpful when working with traditional media is pad your drawing board. Like, have a bunch of sheets of paper there, because if you're working right on the drawing board, it actually won't accept the material as easily. So I actually will, with drawings too, I'll use like several sheets of paper just to pad it. That really helps with filling in the paper. Not so much with line work. Line work, it doesn't really matter that much, but when you're actually drawing and you're actually filling in the tooth, T-O-O-F, of the paper, Jiminy T Cricket, it helps a lot. So, Vintage and Jacob, I haven't seen you guys in a while, so I hope that all is well with you, and that the Streamy Doodle Dandies are going well and work's going well. Hope you kiddos are having a fantastic day. Jacob, we kind of talked about that, but Tira, I hope you're having a good day too. Jiminy T Cricket. All right. So when are you starting your job teaching people how to do this? You're totally... Oh, that's so nice, Cherry. That is so g-dang nice. We actually... So let me tell you a story about failure. When Phil and I... and Oh Just a Cute Name moved back here, Phil and I were trying to start an art studio. Now, this is before everything shut down and all that. And we found that we had a lot of doors like kind of slammed in our face. Like we tried to kind of reach out to the community and stuff. And we really, we got a lot of rejection and sometimes just ghosting. Straight up ghosting. We would just never hear from people again. And I'm not really sure why. It's probably because we were just a bunch of weirdos showing up in town. It's like, hey, want to do this with us? They did not. But in a way, it's good that it didn't work out, because with the shutdown, if that was our sole source of income, that would have been a problem. So, I don't know. We'll probably try to do it again. We'll see. We'll see. Enjoying the tutorial sweet about streaming. I mean, it is... For me, I'm really fortunate because I was just working at home anyway, doing commission work, so the streaming is a little bit easier to do during the week if you work at home and you just do painting all day. But like, I've just been really, really fortunate that way. But I would like to see another one of your Streamski Doodles. I really like your characters. I do. Your creatures. hammering myself about not having anything I felt was decent enough to stream, trying to get over that. I can understand that. Part of my day yesterday was I had 2 agonizing failure days of painting. I was just so upset about it. And so I totally get it, where you get into that mode and you're like, oh, I can't do anything. You know, I totally get it. You do have to push past that feeling. Yeah, you gotta push past that feeling. It's really rough. I understand that. I do. So yeah, that's kind of a couple of things with line work. I like to just, you know, I don't usually do the origin destination thing, but it is kind of a fun thing to just sort of warm up, see how light you can get those lines. Now, the second thing to starting a drawing for me, and this is how I've been working now since like 2014, is I do use a grid system. And here's the advantage. Well, there's quite a few advantages. First of all, it kind of makes you shrink down what you're working on and focus on a small area. Secondly, it helps you kind of keep those proportions, and it just gives you nice little landmarks and helps you break down the picture, especially if you're gonna try to render every little detail. You're gonna want to do a grid. I do work with paintings. I don't use a grid because I just draw everything out. Painting's kind of different, so I don't really use a grid for that. First plein air painting outside in the front yard. Ooh! No, I said I wasn't trying to make it good. I still felt a little down when it didn't come out good. Plein air painting, though, you set yourself a difficult task because plein air painting is tough. Like, I've been trying to plein air paint for like, I don't know, since high school, and it's really hard. So don't be too down on yourself because, like, I've been trying to do that for like so stinking long. And it just comes out awful every time, so I get you. But don't be too down on yourself, you know, and that's part of it, is even if you're not happy with how it turned out, just keep doing it, you know? You gotta push through that frustration, you know? Some sort of great white shark of charcoal drawing in the weather swimming around completely in their own natural habitat. That's fantastic, Cherry. So we could call me Jaws, be it Jaws. All right, so yeah, you wanna... And to set up a grid, do you guys want to know how I set up a grid? You guys probably all know how to do that. I do it all by hand. I don't do it on the computer. It's actually a lot easier to not do it on the computer on your reference. All you really have to do... Oh, show you anyway? Sweet. Okay, you know how to do this, but I'll show you anyway. So, let me see here. I'm just going to grid... So, what you want to do, let's say that I'm trying to grid my reference for Princess Emerald. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to do it in 1-inch increments, depending on how large your photo is. I never ever do it smaller than 1 inch unless there's something with extreme detail. Then you can do a 1/2 inch grid, but I generally don't do that. So the first thing you want to do, and I'm just going to show you with charcoal because I don't have my marker here. First thing you want to do is you want to take your, well, not a not broken pencil probably. Here we go. All right, so you want to just kind of start on your edge. I'll start right here. And every 1 inch, you're going to do a dot. Typically do it at the edge of the picture, but this reference is already done, so it's fine. So yeah, you want to go in, you want to dot, 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 dot. Let's just say we're going to do it to there, okay? And then, broken advanced challenge. Oh my gosh, I'm just carving into the paper. I've done that where I didn't realize my pencil was broken and I scratched the paper. It's like, how did I even do that? Then you're gonna flip the drawing or the reference that way. Start from your edge again, 1 inch from the border of your reference, and you're gonna do every 1 inch, dot, dot, dot. Now, with references like this, you're gonna wanna use a micron pen. Oh, I do have a micron pen, never mind. I use a Faber-Castell. It's just it's a permanent micron pen. That's what you want to use. Don't use a Sharpie, the lines will be too thick. Don't use something that is gonna smudge. Okay, Cherry, happy BRBing. And then really all you're gonna do, and you wanna do this on both sides, so you can kind of line it up. I don't really care because I've already used this reference. So you're gonna wanna do that on both sides of the paper. So you have 2 coordinating dots, and then zip, just add your line. Again, use a pen, don't use charcoal because it's just gonna smudge right off. All right, so that's how you do the reference, and then for the drawing itself, You're going to measure how big you want it. It should correspond exactly to the reference. Say your reference is 5 by 7. You're going to draw a 5 by 7 box, and you're going to grid it in the exact same way. Now, one thing that I found is sometimes when you get stuff printed, it'll be like a teeny tiny bit off, like by, you know, 1/8 of an inch or something, or 1/16 of an inch. You want to take that into account when you're gridding something, or it can get you into all sorts of trouble. Your grid's going to be off, it's going to be all jank, and yeah, you don't want that. Also, my hair looks bizarre today. I just noticed that. Okay, anyway. So any hoozles. So then you're going to do the same thing on your paper. Now in this case, when you're working on the paper for your grid, what I use is an HB charcoal pencil. Now this is where it's really good to have practice with super light lines, because you don't want these grid lines to be too dark, and you don't want the pressure to be too much, because it can actually carve into your paper, which is not a fun discovery. That's an extra soft. So anyway, so you want to be as light as you can with the ruler, and oh, you're so nice, Tira. Gee dang it. You are a sweetheart. Thank you. Yeah, so that's basically how I do a grid, and then I just sort of work square by square. So let's talk about, do we want to talk about blending next? We could totes talk about that. So I'm going to do a little, well, or should I do pressure control next? I'll do pressure control next. Okay. So the next thing after you do like lines, one of the next steps is like shape replication. And this one it's a bit of a beast. I don't have any examples here, but I'll kind of just explain what you do. So what you do is you get a series of random geometric shapes, not just squares and things like that, but like all of these weird shapes. And basically it's all about finding your, so let's say I'm trying to draw, you know, a rectangle with a triangle sticking out of it or something. The first thing you want to do is just pick what's called an anchor point. So let's say I'm trying to draw, you know, can you guys see what I'm doing? Okay, you can. Let's just say I'm trying to draw, okay, that's pretty crappy, but anyway. So let's just say I'm trying to draw this shape, okay? Maybe I'll move the camera up a little bit. There we go. All right, so what you want to do, and this is very, very helpful when you're not using a grid as well. You want to pick a spot and you measure everything from that one spot. So let's say this is my spot right here, okay? I'm going to measure everything from that point. So when I start to replicate this, I'm going to start by adding that little dot, okay? And then you just sort of take measurements to figure out where everything would be. And don't worry about it being perfect initially, because you can always clean these lines up. Once it's all drawn in, then you can clean the lines up. This is true with circular shapes too. If you're drawing a circle, don't worry about it being perfectly round initially. You can actually do those little light lines, get the basic proportions, and then round it out later on. So any hoozle, so every single little shape or every little spot, I'm just gonna do a quick measure. And I'm going to measure everything from that one point. And that's going to help you with your accuracy. Makes sense? Just, yeah, exactly. So that's true with portraits too. You don't want to go super heavy. You don't want to go detail crazy initially. You want to get those big patterns of shadow and light and all of those things. And you want to break it down into its most basic geometric form before you start to add in all the details. Because a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to go detail crazy and something will be slightly off, but then you're kind of committed, you know? Okay, so I know that this is right. Okay, let's see here. Okay, that's a little off. Let's get that right. And also another thing that's really important is squinting. Now, squinting with one eye closed specifically, there is a reason for doing that. That's for taking measurements. And when you're measuring, you want to have your arms straight out like this. Can you see what I'm doing? You want to have your arm straight out. You always squint the same eye. For me, I squint my right, or I close my right eye. And then you want to just take your measurements without unbending your arm. Okay, and then make your mark. And that's how you get a little bit more accurate. And like I said, if your lines are light, you can make the changes that you need to make. You know what I mean? So that's a really important thing for measuring, is just always being consistent with what you're doing. So it takes all the guesswork out of it. It should be a fairly coherent process, even though half the time I don't even listen to my own advice. I'm like, why didn't that work? Oh, it's because I was just guessing and making stuff up. Not that there's anything wrong with making stuff up, but if you're going for accuracy, it can create some problems for you. But anyhoozle, so that's kind of how shape replication works. Now, this is a very, cruddy example, but once in a blue moon, when I draw portraits, I always end up drawing a Proco-style full Technicolor sketch. That is full Technicolor sketch? That's flippin' fantastic. Every plain outline. I like it, though. Story of my life. I don't listen to my own advice. Like, I literally did that yesterday. I did not listen to my own advice, and it went horribly wrong. Horribly, horribly wrong. Because for me, it's really important to stick to a method that I'm comfortable with. And you can branch out from there, but I really enjoy it more if I'm like, okay, I know what to do, I'm confident in what I'm doing, and when that kind of goes away, it hurts my little heart, So anyhoozle, so that's kind of shape replication, and you can do this with more advanced stuff. Like, if I should show you like a more advanced example, like a face is always a good example, but I don't have any reffies in here that are big enough. I don't want to do a microscopic one because that's a whole other ball of wax. When you're working small, Jiminy T crickets, it's the same principle, but on a much more nitpicky scale. Like, you have to be really careful with what you're doing. But you guys get the basic reference, or the basic idea. Helpful, but it takes too long to get to the actual drawing to start details. My brain is so tired from figuring out the sketch that I have to go lay down, and then I never get back to it. I do that a lot too, so I don't know how to do details. So, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So with this particular method, detail, like sketches with charcoal, are a little bit different than what you do with paint. It has to do with a lot of layering, and you kind of do the details just on top of like big blobs of value, and we'll get to that. So if you wanna stick with me, I can show you how I do details. It might not help everyone, but like, this is how I do it. So anyhoozle, so that's kind of how you do shape up replications. Make sure you work with an anchor point. Now, if you are working with a grid, grids are basically an anchor point. You can see where they intersect the line. You can see how many squares they intersect, all of that stuff. So that's actually another good reason to at least practice with a grid. You don't have to use grids forever. I like them because it literally breaks up this mass of details into a tiny square. And that might help you, Jacob, is to just break it down into a smaller shape. It's a little different if you're doing like a hyper-realistic drawing, or if you're just doing a quick sketch. Like, if you're doing a quick sketch, do a quick sketch. Enjoy the quick sketch. Don't worry about the details, Quick sketches are the best for that, especially if you're like in a rut and you want to just work on something quickly. Anyhoozles. So that's kind of shape replications. I don't know how helpful that is, but all right. So the next thing that we'll talk about here is pressure control. This one is a tough one. I know for me, this is one that I struggled with for a very long time, but it is really important to understand when you're working with charks and pastels. Pastels, we haven't even gotten to that. We're just talking about charks. Hello, Garnot. How are you, friend? I hope you were having a fantabulous day. I hope it's just the bomb diggity. Good to see you, friend. So next thing we're going to talk about is pressure scales. Now, charcoal, as you know, you can get a really good range with these. Some people don't even introduce pastels at all. They just work with the charcoal, and their drawings are fantastic. So you can get a really good range. You don't necessarily need to work with pastels. I like to because it looks neat, but it looks neat without it too. So one thing that we did is you practice the full range of this pencil's value, but in one go. So you want to start, I hold my pencil kind of like this. It steadies it so you're not kind of wibbly wobbling all over the place. This is probably going to be terrible because I have not done a pressure scale in like 5 years. So what you want to do is you just want to go nice and slow. And the differences in pressure should be very subtle. So I'm starting with my darkest value, and I'm slowly slowly lightening up my pressure. Man, this is more awkward than I remember it. And you see how we're starting to kind of lighten up a little bit. And just take your time. There's no rush. We did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. And the idea too, and you're not supposed to stop, but I did. The idea too is you don't want to have like a big crazy shape. You don't want to be all over the place. You want to keep it fairly consistent. And if you need to adjust a little bit, you can, but you want to kind of keep going. So I'm starting to get really light now. You see how slowly I'm going? Like, you don't need to rush through these. This is good practice though, just to see how much of a range this pencil has. Now I'm starting to add less and less pressure. Until almost, oh, and I let go. So you're not really supposed to stop, but you know, you get the idea. So yeah, that's the basic. Hello! Howdy do! We got Bex and Old Man Chadley. We're doing a tutorial today. Chadley, your stream was a hoot last night. Thank you so much for that. It was really good. I had a horrible day, so it was nice to watch something really fun. I'm so bad with pressure. No pressure, right? So yeah, basically the idea is you want to make it a nice, even shape. You want to start with your darkest, richest value and go down to your lightest possible value. Now, one thing that is really, really tricky, 200 PSI strength applies to everything. Trust me, I was like a beast when I started these, but do you see, I didn't really wear the pencil down too much and the pencil didn't break. Last night it was stressful, but fantastic. So much fun. For those of you who don't know, Old Man Chadley is both a game streamer and he streams cross-stitch. He's a hoot. If you guys want to watch a great streamer, give him a follow because he is playing Alien Isolation. There's good chats, there's good times, so give him a follow, guys. Give him a follow. When I doodle, I do it with pen also. I do it with pen sometimes too. It is a lot of fun. But you can kind of see the basic idea. Now, I've probably done easily, oh gosh, I can't even imagine. I don't know if you're listening, oh, just a cute name. How many of these flipping things do we do? Now, I went through this program twice, so I've probably done, I don't want to say 800 of these, but I'm kind of leaning towards that number because I did this twice, and we do them with the enormous 20 by 25 sheets of paper, and we fill it up both sides. I can't even tell you how many of those sheets I went through. It is insane. Mechanical pencil mostly, so I can't get too hard. Graphite. Yeah, I know, that's true. That's the issue with a lot of pencils is the breakage, and I have broken more pencils than I can even say. So but that's kind of the basic idea. It's a good practice for getting the full range of the Charcaronis. Again, I'm using 6B. I only use these for practice and sometimes initial sketches. I don't use them for finished drawings anymore. The issue with generals is they put a lot of binder in their pencils, and it's just that what holds the Charcaronis together. And when you get really bindery pencils, you can't use them to their full potential. They get very scratchy and just kind of yucky and nasty and bleh. But so that's why I like these Euro blends, because they're less bindery, they're much more rich. They're more consistent quality. They are, however, much more expensive, of course, and harder to get. So when you do a couple of those, if you want to, no pressure. This is just for funsies anyway. But yeah, that kind of helps you just kind of get comfortable when you're drawing, to know how much pressure you can get to get what particular value that you want. Now, if I'm being honest, when I'm actually drawing, I never, ever, ever, ever fill it in that quickly. And the reason hello, CAI, we're talking about sharks. How's your day going, friend? Hello. Now, as I said, when I'm actually drawing, I'm much more careful. You want to make sure when you're actually drawing that your pencil is like needle sharp. And let me just talk about that for a second. I hope to not get ahead of myself, but I might, because I'm excited. I'm excited about talking about this. I hope this isn't too boring for you guys. If you want to do something else, just let me know, but I'm having a good time. So when you're actually drawing the pearlescent vibes, I love that word too, pearlescent. It's fantastic. Going good. I am glad to hear it. Now, notice when I was drawing, I kind of hold the pencil like that. When I'm actually drawing and I'm filling something in, I'm going to hold the pencil more like this, less like this, more like that. The reason being is you actually, when you're filling in, even though this is the smooth side of the pastel paper, there's still little troughs, little pits, and little fibers of paper. So the idea is when you're drawing and you're filling in a darker area, you want to fill in all of those little pits and toofs right away. You don't want to leave that till later unless it's a light or a mid-tone. So when I'm drawing, I will actually kind of hold the pencil like this. I always use my trusty maul stick to steady my hand. And you're going to actually hold the pencil so it's going directly into the tooth and really lightly fill it in. Take your time. There's literally no reason whatsoever to rush. But you see how I'm going to slowly start building that up? And you want to make sure that you're being gentle with it. I'm actually not really pushing on the pencil that much at all. You never want to push it more than it's like compressing the paper down, if that makes sense. Like you don't want to push it so hard that you're burnishing your paper. So the amount of pressure I'm using is actually really light. I'm barely even pushing the paper down, is what I'm trying to say. But you see how you get that nice, rich value? You want to make sure all the pits are nice and filled in. The problem with pits is they show up later. Like when you're trying to do your nice finishing layers and all of a sudden there's a big fat hole in it. And you're like, oh, well that looks terrible. That's my whole first drawing was nothing but pits. It was the pits. You get it, you get it. Now I will tend to go over it then a little bit once it's all filled in, just to make sure. But any hoozles, you can kind of see the difference in techniques and stuff. This is just a practice. This is like how I would do it on an actual drawing. And keeping your pencil sharp is important, which is why I use sandpaper. Fantastic. It was the pits. You get it. You get it. But yeah, always keep your pencil sharp. That's why I use sandpaper rather than resharpening my pencil with the razor blade every time. It is actually a huge time saver. Look, now it's instantly sharp again. Fantastic. How about that? Okay. So now I'm just going to talk about the pastels. So I use the Stabilo. Actually, it's is it Carbothello or is it Stabilo? Now I can't actually remember. Hold on, I gotta look at a box. It's been so long. Oh yeah, so it's the Stabilo Carbothello. I use titanium white for all of my pastel-y needs. I do not use General's white pastels. Let me tell you why. They're awful. They are waxy and full of binder, and they are a nightmare to work with. The only time I would ever use them is in practice, because these are a bit more expensive, and it just feels like a waste to use these for just exercises. However, I'm going to use one now. Don't want to use sandpaper because I would sharpen after every stroke. It's hard enough with a normal sharpener. Now, here's the thing about working with charcoal. You almost, for the little details, you almost need the sandpaper to refine the point of your pencil. I see what you're saying, because it would feel like you need to do that, but once you work with it a little more, you kind of know when you need to sharpen it, when you don't. But I do get that, though. Normal sharpeners can be really tough too, because like they break stuff. I get it, but you almost need to do this with hyper-realism because you need that super sharp point. Sorry, I'm gonna disappear for a second. All right, so when you do your those sharp lines make me feel the good chemicals, so I would probably get addicted. It is very soothing. I get it. It's very, very soothing to get a nice sharp pencil. typically what I do too, if I know I'm going to be doing a lot, is I will pre-sharpen just a ton of pencils. The Charks and the pastel, and then you don't have to worry about it as much, especially if you're doing stuff like this. Oh my gosh, like sharpen just a ton of them because you're going to be burning through them so quickly. You're going to waste so much time if you're just dorking around with that. So let's do a white scale. So what we would do is we would start here with the black ones, and then you're going to leave a little space, and you're going to start with your white. And you're going to actually start lightest and then go darkest. So you want to hold it again kind of like a wand, but you want to have it so you can eventually kind of start using your index finger to stabilize the pencil a little bit. So you're going to start right here. Just start with absolutely no pressure. You can hear it, but you can't really see it. And after not doing this for like 5 years, it's like so awkward. And again, I'm just super gradually increasing my pressure. There's absolutely no rush. You don't have to go super fast. And honestly, this is kind of a good warm-up, you know, for actual working. If you are a bit rusty, I haven't worked in Charks for a couple of months, so this is actually probably a real good warm-up. And eventually you're just gonna get as bright as you possibly can. And you're gonna hear that awful squeak. There we go. Well, you can kind of see the idea though is figuring out the full range of this, how bright you can get it and how dark you can get it. It's a really good thing to practice. Even if you are like, which many of you are, like you guys know what you're doing, obviously, because I've seen your work. So like you guys know what you're doing, but like it's a good warm-up if you're planning on working with pastels or Charks. It's a really fun way to just sort of go like, yeah, back in the swing of things. So like you guys don't really need me, but this is fun. This is fun. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about, so you kind of understand the full range here, and it's a huge range, like you can get it really light. So blending the two together. So this is where the Charks hits the pastel. Okay, this is where rubber meets the road here. Let me just resharpenify this a little bit. So one thing that I really didn't understand when I first started working with this is really how to achieve the exact value that you want. Obviously, that's going to come from just experience and making mistakes, and gee dang it, I made a lot of mistakes. So one thing I didn't know about Charks and pastel is just how far you can push these materials. So let's say I had like a really kind of semi-bright midtone. It's not quite white, but it's not super dark either. How do we get to that value? And one thing that I found out from Phil, actually, because he was working on this before I was, is the key is to fill in your paper more than you would think you need to. So let's say, I'm just going to show you on this, just as an example, how bright you can actually get this. Now this is completely filled in, the tooth of the paper is completely saturated. So if I take my white, and I'm being more aggressive than I normally would be. But like, do you see how crazy bright you can get that? Like, it's pretty g-dang bright, and this is like a high mid-tone. Never be this haphazard, but you know what I mean. And you can keep layering, like it's still accepting this pastel. Look at how crazy bright you can get that. So one of the things that I learned is you can super push these materials way further than you would think. And actually it still is accepting. It's not burnished, it's not wrecked. You can still, gee dang it, add more pastel. And look at how bright you can get that. That's a pretty bright midtone. Now, a lot of people, from what they've told me, who work in this technique, have trouble reaching and getting this value consistently without getting tons of pits. And the key is just knowing how much initially to lay down of the charcoal before you even add your pastel. Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing, is you can push this real far. So let's do a little demo of adding these two together here. So I'm just going to start by drawing a little square. And guys, let me know if you want me to ramble about something else. If you guys are getting bored, please let me know. I don't know how interesting this is to anyone, but... Interesante. Do, 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 do. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to smear. We're going to do some smearage. I hope that sounds good to you. We did a lot of these. These are gradation blocks. And what we would typically do, keep going, I love it. Fantastic. I'm glad it's interesting. Thank you. You're so encouraging, Garnot. I appreciate that. Okay, so when we would do gradation blocks, we would actually be working from a specific reference. So we would have these value patterns, basically, like where the shadow comes down this far, the highlight comes up this far, and we had to match them exactly, right down to the very finish. So typically I wouldn't be just freehanding this, because then you can just do anything you want, basically. But so let's say my shadow would come up to here and then start to fade out this way. Okay, so let's just try to match that. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just, and oh, I should probably mention, when you're working from any kind of reference in this style, it's really important to have the reference right next to what you're working on. If you have your reference like over here, if you're working from a screen, you can definitely do it, but it just makes it a little bit harder. So when I'm working on a pastel or a Charks, I always have my reference right next to what I'm working on. And I take that sometimes to the extreme. If I'm working on a very small section, I will actually cut that part of the reference out and stick it right, like literally an inch away from what I'm working on. That makes such a difference. Like, that's another thing I wasn't doing. It makes such a difference. Okay, so let's say this is gonna be where it starts to fade out. And let's say the fade out stops right there. So I'm gonna make a second line for where the fade out needs to stop. So the fade out's gonna stop right there, and then it's gonna start to be white. Now notice how my lines are still, like you can see them, but they're still pretty light. I might even go in and lift a little bit of that up, just so I know where it is, but it's not interfering with my gradation. Okay, and all I'm doing really is just very lightly bebopping and scatting the eraser across the paper. You don't need to be super rough at all. Okay. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do, and I'm a weirdo, and when I'm filling in areas that I know are all black, it's much more comfortable for me to just do vertical swooshes. I don't know why, I've always done it that way. It doesn't actually, it won't affect the final drawing. If this area is all black, you can actually just fill it in. It's a little more comfy than trying to fill it in this way, which is a little bit more awkward, I found. Man, I have not worked with these cheap pencils for a long time though. These are like, woof! I'm used to like the super buttery smooth ones. I'm not gonna be super careful because otherwise this is gonna take forever. Typically when I'm filling in an area of black, like even if it's a 1-inch square, it'll take me like well over an hour to fill in all of the black, because that's how careful I like to be with it. The more careful you are in those initial foundational stages, the more enjoyable it's going to be to work on later. So a little bit of patience, or a lot of bit of patience, goes a long way. If you rush through those initial layers, usually you'll regret it later, because the results will start to show. The more you build up those materials, the more janky it's going to become. So you really want to be super patient and super careful when you're first laying all that stuff down. It does help. It really does. It helps me anyway. And then, you know, when you're doing like the top edge, then you can kind of turn. And I'm still being really careful, guys. I'm not adding too much pressure. I'm just sort of letting it naturally fill in. The more you go over this, the more those little pitsky doodle dandies are going to get filled in. You don't have to push super hard. It isn't a good habit to start. Rushing through these initial layers is not a good habit. So just sort of practice patience. It's also very therapeutic. Filling in the shadowy bits is very, very calming. Because it doesn't, once you kind of know where you need to fill it in, and you don't need to think about it anymore, it's just like, all right, autopilot mode we go. Sometimes it's best if you're drawing and you're tired, just do a simple area like that where all you need to do is fill it in with one value. I've done that, where it's like I'm working on a drawing and it's like 1 a.m. And I'm like, I don't have the capacity for detail, so I'll just like fill in a big block. And it's like, I accomplished something, because now I don't have to do that tomorrow. Let me just sharpen my pencil real quick. Now, if you do plan on doing hand sharpening, definitely use a straight edge razor. Don't use like those angled X-Acto knives. That's what I used for a long time. These work so much better. You can get them in big packs too, so that's pretty neat. How neat is that? That's pretty neat. Okay. I think, what grit sandpaper? I don't know what grit sandpaper I'm using though. It's like a really like heavy grit. It's not super fine. I actually do use 2 types of sandpaper. If I'm trying to refine it so it's like a super, super fine point, then you want to use a softer grit. But when you're just trying to get the pencil mostly sharp, then gee dang it, use like a heavy grit. So it's not just filling in the pits though. What you're doing too is you're building up those materials so you have more to work with. So if you think of it with those later layers, it's kind of like when you're trying to basically smooth out concrete over rocks in a way. And if you add too thin of a layer, those rocks are going to slowly start to show and you're not going to be able to smooth it out. So that's why you want to put a nice even layer over the paper. I can't use a blazer. Darn, I was about to get my jacket ready. Gee, I know, it's so disappointing. What a bummer, right? And here they told me Christmas was right around the corner. You're blazering a trail. It's not that funny. Laser, and all kinds of lasers. But again, pressure is really important to understand when to use heavy pressure. I mean, I'll be really honest. I pretty much never use heavy pressure. Even if I know like a whole background is pitch black, I still won't use that much pressure to fill it in. Even if I know like I have like 10 square inches to fill in just with black, I will do it the exact same way. Sure, it takes forever, but it will look much nicer when you're done. I'm gonna show you a couple other little tricksky doodles once we get to the finishing layers, because it's super neat. Little things that you just sort of learn the more you work with these materials, like you learn these neat little hacks to make it look good when it's done. But again, once I kind of get it mostly filled in, then you can change direction a little bit just to get those stubborn little pitsky doodle dandies that you want to get rid of. Make sure you occasionally kind of get the excess charcoal off. Now, if this was a drawing, I would not be touching this paper at all. You want to touch the paper with your hand as little as you possibly can. Because what can happen... Sorry, I weirdly need some chapstick because it's cold in here and skin's all dry. There we go. There it is. But yeah, you want to touch the paper as little as possible because your skin oils can actually compress the paper down and can wreck it. Again, it's unlikely, It's unlikely, but you want to better be safe than sorry. So you don't really want to touch the paper. Also, you don't want to smear anything, so you want to make sure you don't get in the habit of putting your hand all over the drawing. Now, a lot of people work flat, and they'll use like a little sheet of paper. I don't work flat because it would be a huge mess. It would just be a lake of charcoal and pastel brownies. That's why I don't work flat. It also helps to work upright for getting all the... Just physically it's easier when you're working in this technique, and you don't get any kind of like distortion with your reference or anything like that. So that's why I work on an upright easel. And then gravity takes over and all the charcoal just sort of falls away. Oh, I should probably mention, do you notice that I'm rotating the pencil a lot? What I'm doing is I'm finding the flat edge. You want to fill this in with a sharp edge. So as you're using the pencil, it'll kind of naturally create these little sharp points. So I just sort of rotate the pencil as I'm working with it to find those little sharp points to help me fill in the toofy toof toof. Okay. So let's say my solid black is going to go down to here. So I'm just going to kind of... One thing you can do too is you can sort of create like a little edge of solid black before you're ready to taper it out. So you kind of create like a little boundary for yourself so it's easier to fill it in. This is actually really important when you're doing a drawing. So you don't have like this little area with pits in it right next to a lighter area. So I will actually go right next to a lighter area and really lightly add in that full charks so I don't have pitty pit areas. Yeah, if you guys want to try a really good charcoal pencil, that General's Euro Blend is just, it's fabulous. It's just fabulous, dear. You can kind of see, though, like, in a drawing situation, how this would apply. You know, just kind of laying in those foundational values so you can get the correct values later. Later. It's very important, it is. It's very important, let me tell you. I'm going to turn a little bit here. When I'm done filling this part in too, I'm going to show you a little tricksky doodle here. One interesting thing about charcoal is even if you fill it in all the way, if you take a picture of this like straight on lighting, it's going to look like there's flipping confetti all over your drawing because you'll actually see through the layers of charcoal to some of the pits. So I took a picture of my drawing once and I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks terrible. And Phil was like, well, that's because you had the flash on. I'm like, oh, okay. Photographing artwork is an elusive and troubling category of things. Especially paintings. Paintings are just flippin' hard to photograph, especially if the background is really dark. Jiminy T. Cricket. I'm working on it, but I've had some pretty big failures with photographing art. I feel like charcoal, too, you get like that glare, and it can just totally throw off the way the finished drawing looks. I'm sure you've all been there where you try to photograph a piece and you're like, oh, what? Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. I don't stinking know. So we're getting into the final fillage stage. I still see a few little pitsky doodles. So once you kind of get all of your black filled in, if you know that no pastel is going to go up past this point, it's just going to stay this really dark value, One thing that you can do just to make the black a little bit more rich and not look as marked up, so there's little pencil marks in it, is you can very lightly take the side of the pencil and sweep down on it. No pressure on it. Just sweep down, get that excess charcoal off, and it also pushes the fiber of the paper down so they don't catch the light as much. So what that's essentially doing is making your value look darker. When you work with all white, you actually do the opposite and you sweep up, and that's going to help the fibers catch the light and make it look brighter. It's not like a huge difference, but it's a little bit of a difference that just helps the finish look a little bit nicer. It's like if I had a background that was all black, which I've done several times, I would do this on the whole background. Just go through and really lightly with the side of the pencil sweep down on it, and it just adds a little bit more of that richness. Our photography is a form unto its. It absolutely is, Garnot. It is very tricky. I do have a new camera that I'm learning to use, but I really don't know how to use it yet. And yeah, I've been struggling a bit to get a good picture, and I really want to get a good picture of the Danny DeVito painting, like big time. So I want to make sure. I'm probably going to use a polarizer because a polarizer can get rid of glare. Because that's how dead seriously I'm taking that picture. All right, so now we're going to do the mid-tone. I will typically do the pastel last, because you're going to get a lot of fallout from your charks. So I do all of the full black and the mid-tone first before I add any white, and you'll see why. Whoops, I almost knocked my light over. How neat is that? So what I'm going to do is well, that's not sharp enough. Make sure your pencil's nice and sharp. And if the gradation ends here, that's where your lightest charcoal is going to be. And if it's tapering off about here, you can actually continue that almost full black. Now, this time I'm going to go kind of more sideways, less vertical. And you can kind of do this in one fell swoop. Just keep your pencil nice and even. Keep your application as even as you can. And you see how I'm almost doing like a little mini pressure scale? And again, you can actually go a little bit darker than you would think to make sure that you get fully saturated paper. I might even go a little bit past that. And you want to make sure you don't, when you get to the bottom of your gradation, that you don't have any sharp edges. You don't really want to see that taper. You want it to just sort of fuzz off into oblivion. A little bit ahead, but do you spray fix your charcoal drawings when you're done? Hello, Hustle and Cuss. I do not. And there's a really simple reason. What that essentially does when you're working with, because when I do a charcoal drawing, there's layer upon layer upon layer. So it's a very, very careful layering of the materials. And when you add a spray fixative to it, essentially what that does is it compresses those layers down. It can actually wreck your drawing. Now, if you're doing less layers, you can use a spray fixative and it'll be fine. So like if you just did like one layer of charcoal and you spray it, it's probably going to be fine. But what can happen with those spray fixatives is A, it can yellow over time, which is bad. It can also wreck all of those really careful gradations that you did, and compresses them, and it just makes them look a little bit jankier than they would have had you not sprayed it. So essentially what I do to protect the finished drawing is you just get it matted and framed right away. Before you do that, you keep it in a box. Like literally in a box with a lid, so nothing gets on it. So I don't really have any in here, but I could show you at some point what a finished framed drawing looks like, because it has two types of mats in it. It has the regular mat that sits out front, and there's a secondary mat in it called a gutter mat, where if any charcoal does dislodge, it'll fall between the front mat and this gutter mat, so you won't see it on the front mat. So it's a little bit more of a bit of a hullabaloo to get these framed, but it is definitely worth it because those spray fixatives can actually really wreck your drawing. And as I said, it can also yellow over time, and that's no good. Unless that's the effect you're going for. Like if it's sepia, then go for it. But if it's just black and white, I would avoid it. It can also compress down the paper tooth as well, which I guess is sort of the same thing. It compresses the gradations down. So you just have to be really careful with that. Now, if you're doing a painting, particularly an oil painting, absolutely varnish it. But you do have to wait a long time. So like I'll varnish an oil painting, but I would not add spray fixative to a chark. And you do want to refine your gradation. Like I could leave it, you know, somewhat unfinished like that, but you definitely want to go in and sort of finesse what you're working on. You don't want to just, you know, add in a quick gradation and then jump right into the pastel, because that's very tempting to do. You want to make sure that that first layer is almost like your finished layer. Like that's how you want to treat each and every layer of a drawing, as if it's the final one that people are going to see. Like that's how careful I like to be. You don't want to just rush through it and then have to fix it later. Because sometimes if you're really, like I've done this where I've been really sloppy and then you can't fully recover from it. Like you sort of can, but those initial layers, if you've got big pits, there's sometimes nothing that you can really do in those later layers other than take your pencil and physically go in and jab charcoal into the pit. So you do want to be as careful as you possibly can be with each layer. Make sure every little pit that you want filled in gets filled in. And if you don't fill it in with the charks, you absolutely need to fill it in with the white. You don't want to leave, when you're finished, none of the paper should be showing at all. It should all be filled in. So like I've got a couple of big pits here that I would want to go in and just really lightly fill in. And I just want to make sure this is nice and even across. Since we're just doing a gradation and we're just making it a straight line, I want to make sure that it's perfectly even all the way across. No little bloops, no little blips, no little snag-ski doodles. You want to make sure it gets all filled in nice and evenly. And again, you don't want to really see that fade out. You don't want it to be like a super, super white. You get it. You get exactly how to spell that. Fantastic. Any big pits need to be filled in. Like I'm seeing just a couple of little pitsky doodle dandies. Wow, this is dramatic. Cloaked in moonlight. So you're trying to be Moonlight Sonata. Got it. I mean, that is what this is. Okay. So it looks pretty even. Yeah, I will really go in and refine before I add any pastel. And it's a little trickier when you're showing your technique. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope that it's helpful and that you find it interesting, you know. I hope that it in some way enriches your drawing experience. Thank you so much for hanging out. I super appreciate it. So like if I was drawing something like a teacup, which obviously I've drawn quite a few times, I would use this exact technique. Obviously it would be applied in like more round shapes and things like that, but let's say, you know, this is a teacup and this is the edge of the teacup. It would just be the same thing, but you know, in a round elliptical shape. All right, so make sure the extra charcoal is off, and it'll just fall when you kind of do like a little tap like that. It'll just sort of fall. I also have, I'll just kind of show you how I set this up. I line my easel tray with paper towels, so all of the charcoal just falls right onto that. And then you can kind of, oh, there's a pencil in it. That's where that pencil went. Found it. Anyway, I was wondering where that went. Okay. So then essentially, so I don't want my white to go up past that line. So I would go full white up until about here, where you see those little pits. I might even add a little bit more of the charks in here. Now the issue with charcoal and pastel, I guess, is once an area gets kind of schmutzed up by a value, like let's say I brought my white too far up into my shadow, it is really tricky to kind of get it that rich black again. So that's why you want to be really mindful about where your full values are and where you need to stop adding those values. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's a little hard to bring those full values all the way back. Once it's kind of been contaminated by pastel or by charcoal, then it's a little tricky. Then you get into some tricksy doodle kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So then we're going to do the opposite. We're going to start down here with our full white. And again, oh, these are so much better. Yeah, the Stabilo are really, really soft and kind of chalky. It's honestly the best pastel white that I've found. And I've tried a lot of them. I think the closest I've found is like I think they're called Derwent, and they're okay. I would say that they're almost too powdery and tend to fall off the paper. This is the best one that I've found. Now, it's not as bright as, say, a General's white, but it's much more pleasant to work with. And I think that's more important than how bright you can get it. That's something you do have to keep in mind when picking out your materials is, do you want it to look exactly like the reference? Because some values you actually cannot hit with these. Like there are certain whites you're not going to be able to hit, and there's certain blacks you're not going to be able to get. Some of the references, especially if you're printing the reference out, which I do, it gets so dark or so bright that you actually physically can't get those. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're drawing. Is like there's some things that are not achievable with the materials you're working with. Even down to resolution. Let's say that you're doing something really, really small. There's going to come a point where you can physically no longer capture it. It's too small to capture. I found that with Gandalf, that little itty bitty Gandalf drawing I did. It got down to the point where I was trying to capture skin texture, and you couldn't do it because the skin texture was actually the same resolution as the fibers of the paper. So I could no longer get the pencil sharp enough or precise enough to get those little ditaronis. So it's just something to keep in mind. Like don't kick yourself if you can't like emulate every single little jot and schmizzle, you know? Just don't worry about it, because there comes a point where you don't even need to capture it anymore. Like you have gone far enough and you're good. Like just let it go. That's hard for me to do because I like to capture every single little thing, and it's like you physically can't. You just can't do it. You can't do it, Captain. Okay, gotta sharpen again. This is fun though. I haven't worked on one of these in a long time. It's been years since I've done one of these. So remember how I said you kind of sweep down to get the shadowy bits a little bit darker? You do the exact opposite with the white. You sweep up, and that pushes the fibers of the paper so it catches the light more. I work obviously with a light that sweeps down vertically, and honestly, like your drawing will look a little different in different lightings. Like if you took it outside, for example, to photograph it, it's gonna look a little different. Don't freak out like I did the first time that happened. I was like, oh my gosh, why are all these pits here? That's because the lighting's different. And typically where it's going to be displayed, it's not going to be in direct sunlight, or it's not going to be in like light that's like pointed right at it. So that's never really an issue anyway, but I still freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Now, actually, because the white is ever so slightly less opaque than your black, you want to be much more gentle when you're adding in your whites. I wasn't, so I'm getting a little bit of schmutz in it, but that's okay since this is just an example anyway. But in general, if you're doing a large area that you are going to be leaving totally white, oh my gosh, be so stinking careful with it. Okay, so it looks like we kind of have that all filled in. Now we're going to start actually introducing the charks, or the pastel into the charks. And this is the fun part. This is the super satisfying part. Okay, you definitely want to have this as sharp as you can get it. This is where we're going to be totally filling in the entire thing. The tooth of the paper is not going to be showing at all anymore. So it's really important as you go along to completely fill this in. It's super important because all of your subsequent layers are going to be affected by this. So you want to be real careful, kids. Make good choices with your pencils. Nice and sharp. There we go. Hello! How's it going, Red? What's the hips and the haps and the bips and the baps? I hope you are having a fantastic day. We're doing a little charcoal and pastel demo here. Alrighty, Roo. And typically, when I'm working on a drawing, one square I can spend days on. So this is pretty fast. So what I'm going to do now is the same way I did the chark where I kind of brought it down and tapered it out. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to be going up into the charcoal. And I'm going to be completely filling this tooth in as I go. Really gently, really carefully. And you can see how light, how crazy light this is going to get. You remember how dark that looked? Gee dang it, it is really lightening up. That's because this wasn't as filled in as it looked. Now as I start getting into the full charcoal here, that's where I'm going to start lightening up because that tooth is already filled in. Really lightly, really lightly taper that off. You don't want to see any hard edges in there. You want it to just fade off into flippin' oblivion. Yeah, you don't want to see any hard skidoodle. Been lurking for a few seconds. Oh, well, that's nice. Well, hail and well met, friend. The star shines from the hour of our meeting. I hope your day is just fantastic. And since this isn't a pressure scale, like we're not doing this in one go, you can go back and kind of flurf it out a little bit. And if you look and it's not all the way filled in, you want to go back and do a second pass. Make sure that's all filled in. You don't want to have any pitsky doodles or you are going to be fighting with those until the cows come home. Which is probably quite late, I'd imagine. But you can see, by being careful in those initial layers, how easy it was to get a nice gradation. Like, it was barely any work because we did all of the work on those first layers. So I'm not sitting here struggling trying to smooth this out. It's just smoothing itself out. It's doing all the work for me. Just be real careful on those initial layers, and gee dang it, your drawing experience is going to be so much stinking easier. You're not going to be fighting pits. You're not going to be struggling to smooth this out because it's really going to do all the work for you. And then with those initial smooth layers, gee dang it, you can get some really nice detail on top of that. You've got like a perfect foundation. You know, it's like trying to build the rooms before you have the foundation. It's not really going to work for you. You got to be careful with it. It's easy peasy, mac and cheesy. Well, you know, it's still time consuming and difficult, but it's easier. And like, I was not doing a lot of this when I was first learning this. I was like very haphazard and kind of guessing, and once it was explained that you just fill in the paper more, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes it so much easier. So many mistakes were made that did not need to be made. And we are going to go over this too with the charcoal again. So we'll be going back and adding another smoothing layer with the charcaronis. And you want to make sure you connect these two little sections gently. Not too much pressure, but you do want to kind of sweep across so you kind of even that out a little bit. So you don't have like these three towers of value there independently and not working together. You can see how even that looks though already, just from those first two layers. Like, I remember the first time I tried to do these, I was doing like 100 layers and I still could not get it even, and I could not figure out why it wasn't working. And I was simply not using enough of the charks, and I was not using enough of the pastel to fill it in. It makes such a difference. Spray fix yellows paper. Would you not recommend spray fixing graphite drawings either? I spray my pet portraits because I leave the framing up to the client since everyone's framing preferences are different. Now, I am not as familiar with graphite as I am with charcoal. I imagine that over time it still could yellow with graphite. I mean, there might be more archival brands where it won't yellow over time, or it is acid, like all of the stuff that can cause it to yellow. There might be kinds that don't do that. Just in my experience, I find that it does yellow. I mean, there could be brands that it'll say specifically will not yellow over time. Maybe look into that. Turned into a nice gradient. Hey, thanks. Thank you, friend. But yeah, so for me, I don't know as much about graphite. I don't know how fragile it is compared to charks, or how smudgy it is. For me, the main reason I get these framed right away is they are so delicate, they're so prone to smudging, they're so prone to the charcoal getting knocked off the paper. That's why I get these framed right away. I am not sure, though, about graphite as much and how fragile it really is. I really just don't know. As far as the yellowing goes, like, I would look into that to see if there are brands that specifically say won't yellow over time. You know, that's what I would look into. That's just my advice. But yeah, as far as framing goes, I understand, like, some people, they don't like. I usually just go for simple frames with these, unless it's something that I know I'm gonna keep. Then I go a little bit more elaborate. But I find, like, typically if you just go with like a simple black frame, that's pretty acceptable to most people. But I see what you're saying, though. Like, it can be tricky because you don't know everyone's personal tastes. A lot of the time, I sell my stuff, when I do sell it, once in once in a blue moon when I sell a charcoal drawing. It's typically at an exhibit or a gallery show, and most of the stuff is kind of framed the same way. If a client wants to reframe it after they buy it, that's totally up to them. If they want to take that risk, I would rather no one did because it's terrifying, but, you know, everyone does have different tastes, that's true. So this is basically the underlying technique of how to layer the charks in the pastel. I will always go over it a few times. So like now I'm going to go back over it again with the charks, but I'm not going to go as far this time because last time, remember, I went really far down. This time I'm only going to go as far as I need to just to smooth it out. And I want to get rid of all of these little striations that are in there. I don't want to see any of that. So that's why you're going to go over it a couple times. Hello, I thought this was an art tutorial, not a magic tutorial. Why are you showing the trick where solid pencil looks like it's blending when you wiggle it back and forth? I'm a wizard, Harry! How's it going, Prue? I hope your day doesn't burn too much. I know it's meeting day, isn't it? So I hope your meetings are going well. Have you been hanging out for a bit? Fantastic. But right now for these finishing layers, I am not adding even a hint of pressure to it. I'm just letting the weight of the pencil smear it. So I don't use any blending stumps or any special blendifying tools. I just use the pencils. So that's third layer, and it's already pretty G-dang smooth. Just showed up at 10 minutes and then I'll disappear again. Well, I'm glad you can hang out for 10 minutes. If people like this, we can always do another art tutorial, and we can try to do it on a Thursday so you can join, Prue. That would be fun. If people are digging this, I can always do another one because I'm actually really enjoying just doing some basic blendifying. If not, we don't have to. But this is super relaxing. Gee dang it, I'm like super chill right now. But you can see how this would apply if you're drawing really anything, like even down to portraiture. I mean, obviously the shapes would be different. It wouldn't be perfectly cut in half like this, but you can see how it applies. Now, if you have a gradation where it's mostly gray tones, it's done the same way. You're just going to layer a lot more charcoal initially and a lot less of just the bright white. I'm about it. Fantastic. Maybe we'll do another one of these. We'll do it on a Thursday though, so Prue can join. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back up with the white, but I'm just going to not go quite as far. Now, I have heard it said that you should be varying the direction of your pencil a little bit more, but with one of these where it's just straight across, like, why would you? A little bit, sure, but not like dramatic direction changes. I'm not really sure what the advantage of that is, but I've heard it said. So, I mean, up to you. I feel like it would mess it up more, but what the heck do I know? But I am using absolutely no pressure. I'm just letting the pencil smear it about. Ooh, hydrate. Well, thank you for that. I have not hydrated in quite a tatty while. Thank you for that. Gee dang it, that was refreshing. Another really important thing, if you're bebopping from this mid-tone down to your white for some reason, say you missed something, clean your pencil off just by smearing it about on a blank part of the paper, because that charcoal can transfer onto your pencil and ruin an entire area. I would know, I've had it happen before. I find that posture is quite important too when doing one of these. You don't want to have your arms all wibbledy-bibbledy, and here's why, because your gradation can turn out crooked. So I'm sitting up kind of straight and making sure my wrist and arm are really well braced. I'm using a maul stick, and I'm actually using this hand to kind of prop my other hand up so I can keep it nice and evenified. I think I've heard of doing layers in different directions helps get a flatter layer, but I don't know if that's true. So here's my thought on that. If you are not filling in the tooth of the paper all the way, maybe that's true. But since we're filling it in all the way and we're being really gentle about it, you're gonna just by the nature of you keep going over it, you're gonna get that even layer. Just over time, it just takes a little time to build up. But if you're filling in the tooth all the way, oh, hello, Mrs. Zotz. But yeah, I've heard that, but if you're filling in the tooth all the way, thank you for the stretchy doodle. You're filling in the tooth of the paper all the way, I find that it really doesn't matter. Just be gentle about it. If you're using really heavy pressure, then that's gonna make a big difference. So like if I was using really heavy pressure, it would be hard to get rid of. Maybe it's just more for pencils. It could be. Hello, how are you, my dear? I hope you are having a fantastic day. But yeah, it could be for different materials. With charcoal and pastel, I have found in general, it doesn't make a huge difference as long as you're gentle about it. Like, don't use too much pressure, because in general, using too much pressure is just gonna destroy the tooth of your paper. So that's what I found to be true, is just be careful with it and you should be fine. And another thing is, like, just don't rush. I mean, that's a big thing, is if you're rushing through it, you're gonna make mistakes. Just take your time. It's not a race. Or is it? It's not. And I can still see a couple little striations, so I'm just gonna work on that a little bit longer, and then we can move on to other business. What else would you guys like to see? Because truthfully, this was the main thing I had planned, was doing a gradation. So you can kind of see how these two work together. Amazing, I cleaned my living room making dinner in the crock pot. Fantastic, what are you cooking in the crock pot? I stinking love our crock pot. You know, it's just the best invention ever. You put food in it and like a couple hours later, boom! And you don't have to do anything, it's the best. Other than like initially putting stuff in the crock pot, that's it. It's the best. Dinners that are ready to eat when the day is done. What a crock. Ooh, a roast. I actually just made crock pot chicken. It's like the best crock pot chicken ever. It's chicken thighs and then you put an onion in there. Hello. Oh, what do we got there? Look at that little face. Hello. Is it Nid? Is that what that says? Welcome, Nid. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're talking about crock pots and gradations. But you can see, even though I only did for the gradation, I mostly did those horizontal marks. You don't really see any striations in it. You don't really see, you just see the gradation. That's just from being careful. Being nice to your paper. Just be nice to it and it'll be nice to you. Although sometimes you get a piece of paper that has a big fat scratch in it, and boy, is that a bummer when it's in the middle of your drawing. And there's honestly not a lot you can do about that. Phil did find a way to kind of fill in a scratchy doodle dandy, but it is not easy. So yeah, when you add enough of the materials, you have a lot to work with, a lot you can smooth out. You can get it nice and even ski-doodle. Pointers on, so at some point I love pointers on sketching and drawing, maybe how you build an image. I've watched Proco who takes, oh my goodness, thank you so much for following. Just watching Jake, fantastic. Engineering approach talks about major planes of the object. Do you do the same thing? So what I do, I guess it's kind of similar, is I do break down the big value patterns in something. What I mean is, let's say you have a face that's very starkly lit, so you've got a big shadow pattern on one side. I would draw that big shadow pattern, because the way I work is laying down big areas of value. So I don't start with the details, I start with the big chunks of value, those big separations. So, for example, if I was drawing, let me think. One of the teacup drawings I did, for example, there was a teacup that had a very bright top to it and a very, very dark side to it. So all I did is I drew those two separate value planes. So the very bright top, where I need those values to be, and then the big shadowed areas. So I wouldn't draw in all the flourishes. I wouldn't draw in any of those things that don't need to be in that initial layer. You add those subsequently. If you're doing a sketch and you're not planning on filling it in, you can really do it the same way. Break down those basic shapes first, add your details later, because if those first ones are accurate, adding in the details later is much more fun. The first layers are always going to be a bit of a bear because, you know, you have a lot to do. You have to be really careful with it. But if you're careful with those first things, then the later steps are always much more fun. If you're not careful with those, you can still do a really amazing job. But I found that it's a little bit more frustrating. And it's a little bit less satisfying because you're having to do all these corrections as you go. And that's no fun at all. So that's what I do. Well, let me see if I have something that I could kind of show you a good example. Let me look for references here. What do I got? I want something that's simple. Oh, well, here, I will just talk about this one. So this is one that I started a long time ago. You guys should remember this one because I did this on stream. A tutorial draw along for a future stream. That'd be so much fun. We should do that. Holy crap. Okay, that'll be our next one. But here's a really good example, Prue. Do you remember this Lilu drawing I did? Okay. I started and I never finished. Do you see how there's those big shapes? The shadow under her eye, the shadow under her nose, and like her mouth and stuff like that. So hello, Meg. We are doing our tutorial stream. I hope you are having a great day. Fantastic. So essentially what I would do, this one is a little bit different because there's not a lot of value extremes. A lot of it's very gray and, well, gray and also gray. But you can still sort of see these big shapes. So if I wasn't going to do this as a charcoal drawing, just as a regular drawing, I would pick out those big shapes. This shadow in the nose, there's a separation there. This here, that little shape there, I would leave that a little bit lighter, but all of that would get filled in. So when you start drawing it, you just have to keep those big value separations in mind. And you tend to get more, I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking, my dear. But you can kind of get the gist of it is you want to get the big shapes and you want to get differently if it's not hyper-realistic. No, actually. If I'm doing it in color starts to add another element of tricksky-doodleness. If I'm doing it in color, when I do the initial drawing, it tends to be a bit more densely populated with lines than with a charcoal drawing. With a charcoal drawing, you just need to figure out where those big value separations are, because it's really important with charcoal. If you have a really bright white and a really, really dark shadow, you want to make sure that those things are in the right place, because once they're there, and you got to work with it. If I'm doing one of those sketches, you work square by square, so I guess curious how you handle big shapes in an overall drawing. If I am drawing, I'm usually drawing this way. If I'm doing a drawing that I want to be super finished, I will use a grid. If I'm doing a painting, I will do it the way I was explaining earlier. So you want to find an anchor point. Let me just show you what I mean by that. So I was talking about this earlier. You see this shape up here? Let's say if I'm trying to, oh wait, no, you can't see that shape up there. Yep, there it is. I'm desperately trying to keep my questions vague and potentially useful to others rather than teach me to do portraits better. We could totally do like a portrait tutorial. Just take like a very basic picture and show you how to draw it out. I feel like you could have I feel like you're what could have happened if Bob Ross and Mary Poppins got together. Dreams do come true. I can think of no higher compliment. Bob Ross and Mary Poppins. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Or maybe just Bob Poppins. I'm going to legally change my name to Bob Poppins. Dreams do come true. So I used to do a lot of live portrait drawing. It wasn't my favorite, but I did it a lot. One thing that I found very helpful is to find what's called an anchor point. Now, an anchor point is basically the point with which you measure everything else. So for example, if I were drawing this shape here, which I just sort of smeared out really quick, I made this point here my anchor point. Everything from this point, that's where I'm going to measure from. So when I drew this out, I drew the little dot, and then you're going to check all of your little angles from that point. Now, this is where squinting is actually a really important thing in drawing. I know it seems like really pretentious, but I do it. So you're going to close one eye. Okay, I typically close the right eye. You're going to keep your arm really straight, and then you're going to measure from that point. Okay, so now I know this corner is right here, and you can double check it, and it is important to double check, make sure you have it in the right place. Sometimes you'll be a little bit off, and you can make those adjustments as you go. And then you can measure other spots, like you get, okay, well that's a vertical line, that's easy enough, zip. And if I wanted to get this little triangle, okay, where does that fit? It goes right to about there. Okay, so we got that little point there, and that's what you do, and then you can kind of refine it. This is where it's really important to start with very light lines. You don't want your initial marks to be really heavy. These dots are heavy just so you can see what I'm doing, but you don't want those initial lines to be really heavy because they're really hard to erase if you make a mistake. So that's why you want to keep your lines very light, very even, not too crazy, and you can always erase them later. It's important to look at while doing it. Would buying a beret also help erase? Top tip, it is. A beret is essential. If you don't have a beret, it's just not gonna happen, seriously. Oh man, I love it. If you could, in fact, have like a handlebar mustache, that would be good too. Like I'm talking Salvador Dali level with the crazy points, like expert level. Like you have upgraded to expert level. It keeps the fringe out of your eyes. Exactly. A good scarf worn with a t-shirt also provides great assistance. Exactly. Yep. What else could we add into this? Maybe only eat French pastries. I think that would probably help, right? But anyway, so we could totes my goats do like a portrait tutorial or like, an initial drawing tutorial. Now, one thing that, sorry, I can't stop messing with this gradation. One thing that is really, really going to help is don't rush through those initial steps. The exciting part is the shading and the blending and all the fun stuff. But you need to do those foundational things carefully and thoughtfully, and it's going to be just so much more of an enjoyable experience. When I do an initial drawing, only the darkest, most bitter espresso allowed, no sugar. I really do appreciate it. No, you prove. you go, friend. Anything, like any questions you have, any tips about what to wear, let's talk about this. It's important stuff. But yeah, those initial layers, the drawing, the initial layers of charcoal and pastel, or whatever material you're using, just be patient with it. Don't rush through it. You know, as you become more proficient at it, then maybe you can go faster. You can get through those initial steps faster. But there's no need to do that. Just go at the pace with which you're comfortable with. Like, it's not a race. And I find that I do that too, where if I rush through an initial drawing, I make mistakes and then I'm not happy with it. So just take your time, and eventually you're going to get more comfortable. Did you see Salvador Dali's swimming pool? I can't say that I have. I actually have a huge book on Salvador Dali downstairs. Thing has to weigh like 10 pounds. Maybe it's in there though. I'll have to have a look. I would say post a link, but we don't do links here. We don't do linky doodles. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to show you guys. Serious question. I noticed you start dark and add light. Is someone working in pencil? Sorry, graphite. I find that my drawings often get too dark too quickly. So if you are not introducing a pastel or a white element into it and you're using the paper, it's a little bit more different. A little bit more different? Okay. So if you're just using the paper as your highlights, you need to be a little bit more conservative with it. Because I'm totally saturating the paper with material, I need those really dark darks in order to get the correct midtones. So one thing you might want to do is just do a couple practices to see the pencil's range, see how much you need to add to get the value you want. Another thing is, what kind of paper are you actually... I try to go light and use Q-tips excess where possible. So what kind of paper are you using? Are you using like a bright white, like sketchbook paper, Bristol paper? Are you using like a colored paper? Like, what kind of paper are you using? Because I'm using a blue paper. I find that with charcoal and pastel, having like a blue shifted paper works really well with that finished product. It makes it look... Because I've used like a kind of an orangey paper once, and I found that it made it look kind of like dingy. So that's why I use a blue paper. But if you're using like a bright white paper, and you really only need, if you have like a lot of highlights, like if it's a very contrasty picture, then don't fill it in as much. But you would actually kind of be surprised, like if you're doing a portrait, how much you can add and still have it look okay. I don't know if that makes sense. You don't really... Sketch pads, fine tooth. Okay, yeah. So if you're just using a white paper, adding a little bit of the graphite overall and only having a few little areas that are just the bright white, that's going to help you get a little bit more realism. If you leave all of these skin tones, like if you were drawing me and you left all of this paper colored, I guess, it won't look as realistic as if you had like a very light coat of the pencil all overall and just had those few little spectral highlights. I don't know. Hello there, Cacti Girl. We're talking about drawing. How's your day going, friend? It's so nice to see you. Gee dang it, it's nice to see you. How about that? Hello. So, I don't know. Do we want to maybe... White like Stewie Griffin says cool whip? Exactly, that's where I got that from. More meetings. Enjoy your meetings. I hope it doesn't burn. Gee dang it, Prue. Have a good day. Always so nice to see you. Gee dang it. So I'm going to pull out an unfinished charcoal drawing and we'll kind of doodle dip around with that. So look at your beautiful face. Aw, you're so nice, Cacti Girl. Thank you so much. Gee dang it. So we're going to go into a charcoal-y drawing that I started on stream a little while ago. It's a happy little owl. Professor Buckles. Professor Indiana Buckles. That's his name. Okay. And if anyone wants to have any more example-ronies done, let me know and I'll bring the drawing board. We'll go back to the drawing board. All right. So this is a charcoal and pastel that I started a long time ago on stream, Professor Buckles. I'll move the camera down in just a second. missed you too, Cacti Girl. I'm so happy you could be here today. How is everything going? I hope you are having just a fantastic day. Fantastical and dreamerific. Okay. So now you can kind of see all of this, how it comes together in an actual charcoal drawing. So for smaller areas like his face, it's the same basic principle. Oh yeah, I still haven't finished it. I worked on it a little bit off stream. I decided because this is not very exciting, I wasn't going to stream the rest of it. I just did the main body of the owl, and I'm slowly chipping away. Hello, Leaf Sheeps. How's your day going? How's the job going, friend? We just got done doing a little bit of tutorialing. So how to do initial lines, some shape replication, pressure scales, stuff like that. So I figured I would have this all culminate in an actual charcoal drawing and just sort of explaining how that's done. So I hope you were having a fantastic day, friend. So basically, what I was showing you with blending the darkest darks into your lightest lights really applies here. So you have things like this little shape blending off into this little shape. It's all done. Things be good. I'm in troubleshooting. I'm troubleshooting a printer right now. Oh, I hate troubleshooting printers. Honestly, there's nothing that triggers me more than having to fix a printer, because we had such issues with this one printer and it just wouldn't work for no reason. I don't know what it is about that. Fantastic now that I'm with y'all. Sadly, I'm sick. Sinus infection. Oh no. Doing great apart from that. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope you feel better. I'm trying to think of what I usually do with that. I don't know if you're on antibiotics, but whenever I get a sinus infection, I have to go on antibiotics. But maybe take an immune booster if you can. Printers are the worst. They're a legit scam. That's so true. They're awful. We had a big, scary in-person meeting with Army Corps colonels who are funding our project, but the meeting went well, though. Oh, that's cool. That's cool yet scary. Gee, dang it. Yeah, I flippin' hate printers. So, speaking of printers, yesterday... Oh no, I should say, let me start a few days back. I needed prints for 2 commissions and a project that I'm going to be streaming on here. And I have been going, pretty sure printer ink costs more than human blood. It does, it really does. It's like insane. So anyhoozles, I've been going to this printer for over 2.5 years now. They're really good. It is a FedEx, sure. But I know the guy who works there, and he always works with me, and he's super good and really knows what he's talking about. And so I went there, and he wasn't there, and I'm like, oh no. And I got this different lady, and she was terrible. Like, she was rude, she didn't know what she was talking about, and she was like, oh, I can't get these printed for you tonight. I'm like, I've been coming here for 2 years. You always get it printed now. She's like, well, we can't do that. I'm like, okay. So I came back the next day and they were awful. The quality was horrible. The color was dark. They were just horribly done. She was like, that'll be $70. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm not paying $70 for this stuff. So anywho, I basically talked him down to like $40 and then I paid for them. But like, oh my gosh, it was the worst. It was just the worst. And they were wrong. They were also rolled up. So they're all crinkled. And anyway, it was just rough. Sinus infections, I never go on antibiotics. Really? Right out? Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. I'm such a baby. Get better soon. My mom used to put Vicks in hot water to try to clear out her sinuses. I don't think it was too effective, although I was a kid at the time. Speaking of printers, your drawings are so awesome. The best printers would suck at printing pictures instead of your drawing. Oh, that's so nice, Cacti Girl. Oh man. Oh, hello, Abby Art Fox. How are you, friend? Didn't work much, sadly. Thanks for the idea. I know there's like tea that you can drink too that's supposed to be good for your sinuses and allergies and stuff. Maybe look into some tea. I don't know. Like honestly, I'm such a baby. If I get a sinus infection, straight on to antibiotics. I cannot do it. I get too whiny. Too whiny, Captain. I hope, Abby, you were having a fantastic day. And I agree, Cacti Girl, I hope you feel better. That's just the worst. But yeah, so we were doing a tutorial earlier just on the blending of charcoal, cup of tea. Oh, good. Honey is really good for stuff like that. Oh, our poor little cactus girl. Gee, dang it. That makes me so sad. It really does. But yeah, so we were doing basically a tutorial on how to blend and start those initial layers and all of that. So I wanted to show you in an actual drawing. This is one that I started on stream. So you can kind of see parts of the reference. Let me just turn my camera a little bit. There we go. There he is. There's the whole feller. Now you can see there's actually like a lot of detail in this little square below his foot. Can you all see that? There's like little bits of bark and little blurry things, but I would actually fill in all of that with solid sharks because the midtone is not too bright to where I can't hit that value. So that's something that just comes from experience. Oh my goodness. Hello. What does that say? Bebo Sloth. What a fantastic name. Hello. Ayo. Fantastic. Now let's enjoy the show. Oh my goodness. Thank you so Atlas the Clown. What a neat name. Ooh, spooky. Let's get a shout out for our friend here. Okay, let's do a shout out for Bebo Sloth. Bebo Sloth. Hello. Let's give Bebo Sloth some love here. Give him a follow if you can. Thank you so much for the raid, friend. How are you today? Welcome to the G-Dang Hoot Nanny. What did you do on your stream? I hope it was stinking fantastic. We were just doing a little tutorial with some sharks and pastel, and I wanted to just sort of apply it to an actual drawing. Look at that happy little puppy. Put a skull on it. Ooh, if you like it, put a skull on it. If you like it, then you should have put a skull on it. Do 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 do. Drew a knight? Nifty! Now, what did you draw it with? What sort of drawing was it? Was it graphite, sharks, digital? Professor? Oh, and this little owl's name is Professor Buckles. Ooh, pencil and ink. Nifty, keen, McDoodle dandy. That is fantastic. I actually really love working with ink, but I never do it for some reason. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for following Bebo Sloth. Bebo, do you prefer Bebo? Do you prefer Sloth? How shall I address thee? Let me know. Gee dang it, it's nice to meet you. It is nice to meet you and your crew. Thanks for bringing your friend Aronies in here. Super appreciate that. We are having a real chill afternoon here. Oh my goodness, put a skull on it. Thank you so much. Love the song. The name's a reference to Portlandia's Put a Bird on It skit. Oh my gosh, Portlandia is amazing. My favorite one is the one where they get sucked into, oh my gosh, Atlas the Clown, thank you so much. A Medusa tattoo. Please post a picture of it. Fantastic. Snake Pliskin, but you can call me Bob. Ooh, Bob, thank you so much. The Dusk one, I appreciate the follow. I will call you Bob. Fantastic. Well, thanks, Bob. My favorite Portlandia is the one where they get sucked into Battlestar Galactica and just like their whole life spirals out of control. That's my favorite one. Couple of weeks, but I will. I'm excited for you. I do not have any tattoos. I have not found something where I'm like, I need this like forever. You know, I haven't found anything. So that's why I do henna tattoos. Because it's like, hey, I don't need to commit. I can just have this on for a few weeks. We're good to go, and there's no needles involved. But looking forward to seeing it. That's going to be really G-dang neat. I could tell. I have 8, technically 6. Wow. Snake Plissken Escape from New York was a great film. Escape from New York. Heard of, not seen. There's a lot of movies that I haven't seen, though. I'm actually quite behind when it comes to movie. I got the bottom of my feet tattooed, and they're gone now. Oh my gosh, the bottom of your feet? Didn't that hurt? I mean, that's probably a stupid question, but, you know, I just don't know a lot about it. I imagine that would have been quite flinch-tacular. Does anyone want... It didn't hurt at all. It must have tickled. Oh my gosh. Does anyone want to see anything specific demoed? Because I'm doing kind of a demo-y thing here. What do we want to see with this drawing? Or do you want me to just sort of doodle around with it? I'm up for whatever, because this is kind of a question and answer stream. 50 tattoos? Jiminy! That felt kind of nice, to be honest. Wow. A camel on my big toe. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. A camel on your big toe. So does anyone have any questions about this, or do you want me to just sort of do my thing? I like this song. Naughty. But yeah, so basically what I was demoing before is exactly what you do with this, just slightly different angles and things like that. I would move so much with a tattoo under my feet, so much table. No tattoo for me right now. Mostly crappy tattoos that I gotta laser out. I hear that's quite the process. I have a friend who is getting a large tattoo on her back removed, and it's expensive and it's an ordeal. Impressed when they saw it, but everyone else loves it. That's what parents are for, though. Someone with a tennis racket on their elbow. Oh my gosh. Somebody's a genius. Flippin' fantastic. So I think for our next tutorial stream, I don't know when this is going to be. I'm going to do basically a portrait demo, like how to start a portrait drawing. But don't do it. So fantastic. So Bob, how long have you been streaming for, and what sort of things do you like to draw? You drew a knight, but is that what you normally do? What sort of stuff? I love dumb tattoos. Honestly, I've been watching this show called Tattoo Redo, and there's some pretty dumb tattoos on that show. I love that sort of thing, though, where they remake it and they're like super awesome. I don't know how real those shows are. I don't really know, but I don't really care because they're super entertaining. But yeah, for our next little demo stream, I'm going to do a portrait demo. I think that'll be fun. Hopefully useful. I love dumb tattoos that are done well. Oh, yeah. Just watching Jake, I was just looking at the nighttime flaming tree picture on your Instagram. Thank you so much. So that was actually a commission for Cherry, who is one of our pals on here, also one of the moderators now. And he commissioned that a little while ago. It's been a few months, but I super appreciate that. Skeletons and Dark Things. I started streaming in October. Oh, that's so neat. Skeleton hands on my ribs. Oh, wow. That is super cool. Dumb tattoos that are done well. Yeah, there are dumb tattoos that are done horribly and dumb tattoos that are fantastic. Yeah, I started streaming April 1st of 2021. Yeah, and it's been a hoot. How has your experience been on here thus far? I hope it has been a delightful and pleasant one. Bebo Sloth stream. Chat gave me an idea to tattoo a McDonald's logo. Oh my gosh. My parents' anniversary is April 1st. Oh, that's kind of spooky, but cool. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to start streaming on April Fool's Day. That sounds fantastic. The appointment is booked. Fantastic. It's been really good meeting a lot of artists. Yeah, I've also had a really good experience on here. I've only gotten into one slight argument with a stranger about the definition of illustrator versus artist. Sure, I got a little aggressive, but you know, in general, I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not a fighter. I don't enjoy arguing, but it was one of the few times, and then I found out the person was a troll, and I'm like, gee dang it, they got me. Oh man. Are you serious? What are you getting at? Please argue with us. Oh man. You guys are gonna get it! Yeah, but I only got into one bit of a tiff with a troll once. They baited me into it. And then afterwards, people were like, you know that person's a troll, right? And I was like, gosh darn it. But other than that, like, such a good experience. Everyone is just super-de-duper. And yeah, it's been great. It's been a hoot. It's been a learning experience. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, it was different. I've never really gotten into a huge fight with anyone online before, so... I didn't want to take it too far because it was on someone else's stream. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to argue with you anymore because, like, it was becoming, like, disruptive. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to ruin this poor person's stream. She's so nice. And I was like, we're just going to cut it off here. You do you. And then again, I found out they were a troll afterwards. Called Tattoo Fixers. Oh my gosh, fantastic. Laser hole tattoo in that area, so it's all good. I hope they're paying you. You should tweet and be like, how much for a Taco Bell tattoo? See what happens. Bop, 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 bop. I'm loving it. Oh wait, that's McDonald's. Never mind. This song's kind of weird, huh? All right, so I'm probably gonna start to fill in this square since it's already filled in. I'm too high up. Oh wait, yeah, my chair is broken. Never mind, I still have to replace that. But yeah, I've been working with Sharks and Pastel for 7 or 8 years now. So it's still my favorite. It's my favorite media to work in. But I've also been branching out into oils and acryls. You are a genius. After my Medusa tattoo, I'm getting a whole Star Wars tattoo. That's so neat. Should be ringing about when you think about a Taco Bell tattoo. Listen, their nacho fries are legendary, okay? Alarm bells of success. Nacho fries are the bomb diggity. This owl looks great. Thank you so much. I love owls too. They're a hoot. You get it? You get it? Actually, it's weird. You is welcome. Fantastic. Good one. It's just the beginning of the bad owl jokes. You get it? Beginning. I'm just winging it. Get it? Get it? You get it. You get it. It's weird though. Like the last 2 projects I've worked on have had owls in it, and the next one I'm working on has an owl in it. So apparently I'm addicted to owls. I gave the McDonald's idea. It's a song from Paper Mario. Oh my gosh. Isn't this the Nutcracker? It's a good joke, a great one even. Oh, wow. It's Swan Lake. That's it. I wish I could get a tattoo that plays a Taco Bell ding. I mean, really, it's just a matter of having like a little recorder or something play noises. You just push a button and it's like, I love it. I love this idea. I really do. I really do. Is this Fire the Bumblebee? Like birthday cards that sing? Yes. Swan Lake was in Paper Mario? I guess so. I actually have not played Paper Mario. I've seen gameplay from it, but I haven't actually played it. So I couldn't tell you definitively. Fantastic. But yeah, I super appreciate that. This little owl, we streamed for a couple streams, and then I kind of cut it off because I was getting to just like the uninteresting bits of the tree, and I had kind of done all I could do with the happy little, it's amazing. Our bumblebee. 5th grade teacher loved owls, but hated every other bird on the planet. Wow. That is extreme. Understandable. I love birds. I actually am basically a 65-year-old woman in a 34-year-old's body, and one of my husband and I, our main hobby is bird watching. So there's that. Bird watching and gardening. I'm gonna have just like the smoothest transition in the world into retirement. It's gonna be fantastic. Bird watching is the bomb diggity. I've seen so many nifty keen birds, including some super rare ones. So like, I love it. I just love it. We have the binocs, we got the camera equipment, we even have little chairs that we take with us. We strap them over our shoulders so we can sit out in the forest like a bunch of weirdos. Birds are fine, I just don't want one as a pet. My dog is loud enough. I would never have one as a pet. I don't think I could. A, because like you said, they're loud. And B, I think I would feel guilty about it. Because, you know, like, you see birds and they're happy and free, and then you got one in, like, a little cage. A lot of people are super duper good bird owners. Like, you know, they take really good care of them, and they have them out of the cage all the time, and that I think is fine. But when you have your bird in, like, a cage all the time, it just makes me sad. So, like, there are people who are just fabulous bird owners. I don't think I would be one, though. Because I would just let it loose, honestly. She ended up quitting teaching because she was pregnant that year and ended up having triplets. Oh my gosh! Bumblebees go buzz. Triplets! Wow, that's a surprise. What if she wasn't expecting triplets? Can you imagine she's expecting one baby and then she has 3? Jeepers McCreeperonis. The pressure. The pressure. Do 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 do. Oh, I don't keep pets. They poo all over the place. It's her first pregnancy? Oh my flippin' word. I can't even handle having fish. Jiminy T. Cricket. That's a lot to handle. That is a lot of shenanigans going on all at once. She hasn't had more kids since. I wonder why. She just got it all done in one go. She's like, that's enough. I don't know why I think she's Australian. She's probably not. Or New Zealand. Professor Buckles. I gotta sharpen this. Seagulls are the only bird. Yeah, I don't really like seagulls. I don't like seagulls. I don't like robins. And I don't like pelicans. Those are the 3 birds that I'm like, I super don't care. I don't care about them. It's not even that... I mean, robins I actually actively dislike, but all other birds are fine. I'm digging this song. Fantastic! What is this song? The Spoopy Spooter Forest. That's fantastic. I plan on not having children. My friend is a twin and she had twins. Yeah, that runs... Oh, she's from Alabama. Okay, different. Oh, what's wrong with robins? So, I've been thinking about this a lot. When we first started bird watching, honestly, I've been apathetic towards robins my whole life, but then when we started bird watching, the very first time we went, we had never been bird watching in our whole lives, and every single bird we saw that day was a robin, and we're like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's a robin. So I think it's just that I associate them with deep, deep disappointment. I think that's what it is. They're disappointment birds. The best bird is the booby. It's very nice of you. Thank you for the shout out. I have to go. I will see you around. Hey, thank you so much, Bob, for hanging out and for bringing some friends in here. I look forward to catching one of your streams, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Jiminy T. Cricket. I love it. Are they always using the little John when you want it? I see what you did there. What's the only bird that can fly backwards? Ooh, I don't know. Underrated, but it's not S tier. I've seen millions of seagulls back in Washington State. They're just normal birds in my mind. Yeah, have a fantastic day. It was super nice to meet you. I think what it is with robins, though, is this. They're not interesting to me. Hummingbirds are flippin' sweet. I love a good hummingbird. And yeah, they can fly backwards now that you mention it. Gee dang it, you're right. Albatross is S tier. I've never seen an albatross. I'm not like, I think what it is too with seagulls and pelicans and all that, I'm not super into like shore birds. I think that's what it is. I really like little sneaky birds that live in like the forest floor. Those are the ones I find the most interesting because they're really hard to find. I mean, unless it lives up on a cliff or something. But I think that's why I like them, is I just like the challenge of trying to track them down. Would remember this statement and remember your face and hunt you down later and steal your gold coins. Seagulls are rats with wings. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Like the kiwi. I've seen a kiwi. That's why I like them. I'm a rat with legs. Kiwis are super cool. Now, how big do you think a kiwi is? They're actually huge. They're like the size of like a basketball. They're enormous. Gorgeous blue eggs. Okay. High tier, exactly. I like robin eggs. I agree, they're really pretty, but like, I don't know what it is about them. It's just something about them rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. They are. They're big. They're really big. We saw one. So my sister and I went to New Zealand about 16 years ago, and we went to a wildlife preserve and we saw a kiwi, and I'm like, they're huge. I thought they were like itty bitty little guys, but they're big. Kiwis dance before they are oh no, I love them so much. Kakapoos are S tier too. What about birds of paradise? Birds of paradise are flippin' sweet. I have watched so many documentaries about them, and they're just so bizarre and like just fantastic. I love them. I love them. Like, the more bizarre the bird, the more I like them. Guys, you should look up a white bellbird. They're the loudest bird in the world, and it sounds like when an alarm goes off in a secret government lab. Go look it up, the white bellbird. Those birds in Rio were pretty dope. Fantastic. But yeah, we've seen some really cool ones though. We've seen a couple of rare ones, and we have a little checklist, and we check them off in our little book. We write little notes about them, and my husband is getting back into wildlife photography. So we're really into it. It's really fun. We're also going to start doing, oh no, they're extinct now? That's so sad. So are dodo birds. I would like to see a dodo bird, but again, they're extinct, so that's probably not going to happen. Is S tier the best there is? Fantastic. Peacocks they're also, a lot of birds are just huge jerks. Like, you just have to keep that in mind. They're pretty, they're cool, but they're also, like, just big turds. Like, they're so mean. And that's, like, pretty much, I mean, that's true of most wildlife. Because, you know, they're just trying to make it, but birds are just, like, they're so mean. There's only a few that are kind of friendly, but, like, for the most part, they would attack you. Do not like J-Bang. White bellbird sounds like Chernobyl reactor meltdown. Exactly! Yes, they are super, super weird. It sounds like a meltdown in a secret government lab. Like, it's super creepy. Really cool. Apparently, when they mate, though, they can deafen other birds with their stupid call. Because I think that's their mating call. And it's like, okay, we get it. Way to make this really uncomfortable. Oh, man. Jiminy T. Cricket, you guys. Professor Buckles. But we actually have these little owls. I'm from Wisconsin, for those of you who don't know. And we do have these itty-bitty little northern Sawout owls, and apparently they're quite sociable. You can walk right up to them and they'll just be like, how'd you do? My experience with peacocks is seeing an escape one following my family in the zoo parking lot. Did you take it home with you? And you're like, well, this is mine now. This bird is single-handedly the reason birds aren't real conspiracy exists. I mean, you're probably right. They all probably run on batteries. The government messed up big time and it just made it unbelievable. If so, though, a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy theory that birds aren't real and they're all government drones meant to spy on us. And it's like, it's fine if they are. They made them interesting. It's a meme, I hope. Yeah, that's like a conspiracy that they're all like government drones. I'm like, these government drones, if they are eavesdropping, I'm like, I hope you like hearing about birds and cats. Because that's pretty much what you're going to hear about. Birds, cats, and charcoal. The government's learning a lot from me. Good job, government. They did a pretty good job. Pretty good variety, you know? You got all sorts of little friends that you can get spied on by. It's fantastic. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm totally fine if that's true. It's fine. At least they made the drones entertaining to watch, you know? Because my son put an email address into their mailing list just to troll me. Here in Canada, birds aren't real. Why do you think specifically, what about moose? Are those real? Like, if you're gonna do, like, a government thing, have it be a moose, you know? Because, like, no one's gonna go near that thing. If you want to intimidate the masses, be a moose. Of course, it's not exactly sneaky if there's a moose eavesdropping through your kitchen window. Mom, the government moose is back. Mom. Moose are very real. People in Hawaii once thought the native monk seals were government agents. If you're going to have a government agent, don't have it be a monk seal, because they're the stupidest animals alive. Like, they're literally dumber than a box of crayons. You're from Canada and have 50 tattoos and we're getting arguments about hot dogs. Are you Maddie Matheson? There's no way reindeer are real. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be honest. They started intentionally killing... Oh, no! They started killing them out of... That's no good. It's also very strange that they would think that SEALs are government agents. I mean, there's the Navy SEALs, but, like, those are just people. Is a chef my favorite chef? Ooh, I didn't know that. Another burner account lost. The Putu bird, their mouths are so wide. Oh, I've seen those. I love them. Also, what's the one bird? There's another bird that's like that, and it just looks like a flippin' Muppet. Is that the same one? Eat a box of crayons? They could. They probably could. Maddie Matheson is one of the most entertaining people alive. That's fantastic. I'm going to have to look this person. I'm sure I probably already know them, but I'm terrible with names. So, like, movie name, any kind of name, I'm not going to remember it. I have the memory pretty much of a goldfish. It's not great, you know, but I'm very relaxed because I don't know what's going on. I don't remember a thing. It's kind of fantastic. You know, I'm cool with it. I accept it. Kind of like if birds are government spies, I just kind of accept it because it's like, there's not really anything I can do about it. So, you know, I'm just going to keep living my life. That's my view on things. You can't do anything about it. Government birds, bad memory. Just go with it. Just go with it. Just relax, you know? Relax, go to it. In Toronto one time, just wanted to put my lips on that mustache. Fantastic. You know what? Maybe you will one day. Maybe, I feel like dreams do come true. I really do. So, maybe you will one day. And if you do, let us know how it was. You know, please report back because we need to know. It's a big chubby dude covered in tattoos. He used to do a lot of drugs. He's a chef now. Oh, that's awesome. Flippin' fantastic. What sort of stuff does he cook? Is it just everything or does he do something specific? So just to let everyone know who is here for the tutorial aspect of this stream, I have switched back to these. These are the Primo Euro blend. These are the ones I use specifically for drawing, like a finished drawing. In case you're curious, I don't use the Generals 6B because they are very inconsistent and you cannot get as dark of values with it. So I've switched on back to me General's Euro blend. Come here. There we go. But yeah, and for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, I just want to say thanks again for hanging out. I really appreciate all of you. We do a lot of different stuff on here. Some of it is very straightforward, just realism. Some of it's a little bit more fun. I do a lot of commissioned work on here. So I do goofy pet portraits. We're going to be starting one tomorrow of a pirate kitty for the fantastic Binary Stitch, who is another streamer. She's a hoot. If you ever want to catch one of her streams, she does a lot of game streams and some cross-stitching as well. So I do a lot of commishy stuff. I'm going to be doing an Alice in Wonderland. Did you draw that owl in 2 hours and 23 minutes? I wish I did. Can you imagine if I could draw that fast? This thing took weeks. If only, Cherry. If only. Oh, maybe someday. I feel like I am probably one of the slowest that exists. That's how I feel a lot of the time. But I honestly just like to take my time so I don't, you know, feel sad and disappointed in what I've done. I'm just not a fast drawer and or painter. Never have been, probably never will be. How about that? How about that? For our new peeps, though, at some point I'll show off some of the more bizarre things that we've done on here. Hopefully you'll like them. One of my favorites is one that we just wrapped up last week. It's a portrait of Danny DeVito, but as King Charles I. So if you want, I can show that off at some point. If not, we'll just keep drawing this here owl. How about that? Danny! Should I show it off? Should I show Danny off? He's my favorite project from this stream so far. And I'm really sad that it's done. Show Danny to the world. Alright, I'll do it. I'll do it. Okay, I'm going to move the camera out a little bit. In every stream, show it off. Oh, Cacti Girl, you gem, you. He is a national treasure. I could not agree more. A national treasure. Alright, so there's only a few things that need to be finished on this, so there's a few little blank spots on the painting. But here he be. Let me just zoom out a little bit more. There he is. It's Danny DeVito as King Charles. He's got an owl named Yarn. And this is his pet unicorn, Pancake Soda Pop. So there's just a few more things that I need to refine and finish, but it's basically done. We are. So our community goal on here is to get King Danny to see this. We all love Danny here. We do. We are going to tweet it to him. We're also going to send it to his Instagram, any accounts that we can get to. So my goal is to, thank you so much.
I started blasting, bang, bang.
I started blasting, bang, bang, bang. Yeah, we're all going to tweet it. So what I'm going to do is, I was actually working on this yesterday. I'm going to finish up all the little blank spots. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to refine everything, make sure it's in tip-top shape. Twitter, you will gladly help. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I would so appreciate it. So when I get the really good photo of it, I will definitely send it to you. I so appreciate that. That's not a lot. Oh, I don't even know if I have a Twitter account. If I do, I haven't used it in like 10 years. So this is going to be a bit of a campaign, but so I'm excited about it. It was a fun project, but it's not a little. That's kind of a lot. That's more than I have. I don't think I have any. I only do Instagram and Facebook, really, but I will probably try to revamp my Twitter account, because I guess it is a hellscape. Don't use it. I just use Instagram. I'm not super tech savvy, so it's true. That's what I've heard. I think I had a Twitter account, but again, I haven't touched it in like 10 years. But yeah, so I'm really happy with it. How this started was, we will do viewer choice projects. So basically, I have these die that has the subject matter and the materials that I draw it in. We roll the die, and then everyone votes on what they want to see. So for this one, it was a portrait painting, and everyone wanted Danny DeVito, because we talk about Danny DeVito a flippin' lot on here. And so we decided to do a portrait, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this into like a period piece, because why not? So then this happened, and it just grew into a bizarre beast, and I'm happy with it. Even using Instagram, they finally added, oh my gosh, I know. When I first got Instagram, I could not figure out how to get pictures on there, and then they added the feature where you can add photos from your desktop, and it was like the dawn of a new era. But anyway, so here's Danny. I'm really happy with him. I'm sad that it's over. Man, did we have fun with that painting. It was a hoot. It was a G-dang hoot. So, yeah, when it's done, we hope to get Danny DeVito to at least acknowledge its existence. That's the goal. We'll see if it happens, though. Wouldn't that be amazing, though? It would be so much fun. All I need is for him to just acknowledge that it exists. Ooh, sing a song as Danny DeVito. Well, don't mind if I do, dang it. Let's see here. Let's see. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then. Do. There we go. I have a little list of songs that I sort of know the words to. And I will always love you. Little bonus song. I hope that was good. There we go. Fantastic. So yeah, we do a little bit of everything on here. And then I'll show you one more that I did in Charks. He's still my favorite charcoal that we've done on here. It's just a little itty bitty though. It's an itty bitty. It's Gandalf the Grey. It's a 4x4 charcoal and pastel. It was actually the second project that I streamed on here. The first one was a little kitty cat. This one was the second. So it's itty bitty. I still have to get this framed, honestly, because it's kind of in danger just sitting out. Yeah, so this is another one I did. Paper's really coming off the pad there. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we do on here. Some of it's goofy and silly, and some of it's a little bit more finished and serious. So we do a hodgepodge on here. We've even been known to do some clay and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all sorts of stuff, kids. All sorts of stuff. But yeah, I appreciate y'all hanging out. It's been a hoot so far. And when I get Danny done, I'll let y'all know. I spotted a fantastic artist. Cactus Girl, you are so sweet. And right back at you. Your characters are so stinking good. Seriously, like you just capture expressions so well. So well. Prue is missing his favorite song. Oh no! That's so sad. I will literally scan through the list tomorrow until I find canon. It will happen. Oh, so yeah, if you guys want to join tomorrow too, I will be starting a new project. It's a pirate kitty. A little pirate kitty cat. I'm really happy with how the reference turned out. The print turned out fine. Again, I won't get into the printer debacle, but the print turned out fine. We'll make it work. But it should be a fun new project. And then next week, I will also be starting a secondary project that is probably going to take me well over a year to finish. So I hope you're ready for a journey. I won't be streaming all of that one because some of it is going to be painfully boring to watch. But the rest of it, it's actually an Alice in Wonderland themed portrait and or still life kind of thing. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we're gonna add stuff to it to make it a little bit more magical. I'm excited about it. The print is absolutely enormous. It's 24 by 36, which for me is like, I never work that large. So it should be a hoot. It should be a world-class hoot nanny. I hope you kids are ready. I don't even know if I'm ready. It's actually going to be, debacle is a good word. It needs to be used more often. Debacle, it is a good word. You know what another good word is? Ballyhoo. That's another great word. Too big. I have not done a 24 by 36 since 2017. I did a, how big was that thing? It was like 112 by 50 something inches. It was the biggest painting I had done since I did murals. So this one is going to be pretty large. It's also going to be incredibly involved. It has like woods and flowers and grass and leaves and people and still life. I think that I'm going to get sleepy soon. Ocular headache is, oh no, feel better, Cactus Girl. I hope you can get really good rest. Make sure that you eat enough too, because I find when I'm sick, I don't eat enough and then it makes me feel worse. So make sure you eat, sleep, hydrate. I'm going to hit the hydrate button for you, my dear. But it is just always such a treat to have you here. Appreciate you, and I hope you get all better real soon. My poor little Cactus Girl, it's the worst. The worst. Drink all the water in your house. Yes, every ounce of water that you have in your house, you need to drink it. Yeah, get well soon. All our love to you, Cactus Girl. Have a fantastical sleep. Say hi to Oh Just a Cute Name and Phil. I sure will, and they will be delighted by that. Liters of water. Fantastic. That's what you should do. I bet you feed a lot. Probably goes without saying, but I just thought I'd say it anyway. I also need to drink more water today, but I have nothing like your excuse. But feel better. For realsies, though, I hope you feel much, much better. And we'll see you around. Oh, hydrate. Well, heck fire, I will. Gee dang it. Thank you, Cactus Girl. You make sure you do the same. Have a good night. Feel better. Hot coffee or some water. Yes. A little bit of both. Feel all better. All betters. Thanks for hanging out even though you were sick. That's so nice of you. So g-dang nice. I'm really glad too that we're not having technical issues today. We actually had a absolutely bizarre stream on Monday night where it would go live and then it would drop and then it would start over again. So like on our Discord, we had something like 6 or 8 notifications that I had gone live, and I'm like, what is going on? So far, I don't think we've had any lag. Let me know if it does start lagging so I can panic about it. Whoops. But so far, so good. I really like these pencils though. They're so much easier to work with than the regular generals. They're just delightful by comparison. And I always forget that until I try to use those regular ones again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are awful. They're so like scratchy and just, they're not super rich or dark. But yeah, if you want to try a really good charcoal pencil, Primo Euro Blend, it's the bomb diggity. A little hard to get right now just because of the supply chain issues, but if you can track them down, buy a box. They are fabulous. I'm actually going to keep this to this little square. I'm not going to do this Euroblend. It's the bomb diggity. Let me just tell you a story. Bomb diggity. You got to get the 3B though, because it's the most, wait, one more time. Rich. There it is. I got it the second try. Fantastic, kiddos. How neat. It's pretty neat. How neat is that? Neat. Yeah, that was fun. We'll do another little tutorial at some point, whenever you kids want it. Whenever you kiddos want a little tutorial. I appreciate you hanging out and asking questions. I don't often ramble that much, but I felt rather rambly. I hope it was fun and helpful. Helperonies. Just sharpen this real quick. One thing with these Euroblends, though, they are, because they're so rich of a pencil, they're a little... I love rambles. I'm so glad, Jacob. I'm glad you were able to hang out. Thanks for sticking with me, friend. Yeah, the one thing about these Euroblend pencils, though, is they're really fragile because there's not as much binder in them. The binder is what keeps it from breaking, but it also incidentally keeps you from drawing. But anyway, because this has less binder in it, they're a little bit more fragile. Fragile-roni, so you do have to be kind of gentle when you sharpen them, a little bit careful. As careful as you would be diffusing a bomb, basically. That's kind of how these work. Nice to be here. Love your energy. We'll definitely be back. Gonna head out and finish my workday here in IT Mine. The IT Mines. Put a skull on it. Thank you so much for hanging out. I super appreciate it. So nice to meet you. I hope the IT Mines are kind to you. And you know what? I hope you find a diamond in there. How about that? The best thing to listen to. Oh, I super appreciate that. That's so nice. Gee dang it. But yeah, take care of yourself. It was so nice to meet you. I'm seriously digging your name. If you like it, then you should have put a skull on it. Do 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 do. Oh 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 do 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 do. Whew, I ran out of air with that song. But yeah, I hope to see you around the Twitcheroni with cheese. Have a good day. The Fast Show. I have not. What is the Fast Show? I have not even heard of this. Is this something I need to add to my homework list? Ooh, this is kind of a dramatic song. Pale Blaze. British comedy. Oh, then I would love it. I love British comedy. The Fast Show. Okay, I will make a mental note. Where can I find this show? Is it on YouTube? Is it on... Where am I going to find this thing? I love British comedy, though. It's the best. I mean, come on, Monty Python? Give me a break here. It's like legendary. It's legend. Wait for it. Dairy. Honestly, I have been rewatching Seinfeld because it came on Netflix. I'm like, I forgot how funny this show is. It's so dumb, but I love it. I love this show. It's pointless. BBC America or BBC iPlayer if you have VPN. Oh, I'm going to write this down because, as I said earlier, I don't have the best memory, so I got to write stuff down. Let's see. And let's see. The Fast Show. British. And I have to write down what it is too, because I might even forget based on my scrawling notes. Well, thank you for the. There's tons of it on YouTube too. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube first. I don't really have those other things, so I will definitely look that up on YouTube. I love British comedy, so I'm sure I will enjoy it. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm excited. Have you ever watched Impractical Jokers? That's one I watch on YouTube a lot. I flippin' love that show. It's just such a force to be reckoned with. We just watched one where basically they have to do these challenges, and if they lose, they get punished. And one of them, they lost, so he had to drive like 11 hours in this car where there's these animatronic puppets singing, and they sing the same song over and over again, and it's unrelentingly funny. Like, it just... And you see his slow descent into madness. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. And then there's another one where they force one of them to act in a play as a genie, and they control... Because he's flying on, like, wires, and they control the wires, and it's like, oh... It's perfection. It's just, it's beautiful. If you watch just one of them, watch either Drive, Drive, Drive or The Genie. Either one of those is just the quintessential example of that show. It's fantastic. Yeah, and by the end of the Drive one, he literally is like insane. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. I don't know how they come up with this stuff though. It's just an endless fountain of just bizarre stuff, and I love it. If you're having a bad day, watch some Impractical Jokers. It'll cheer you right the heck up. Let me tell you a story. It is a Gemmeroni with cheese. The thing about these pencils, going back to tutorial mode, is... Again, you don't have to use any pressure to fill this in, and it's even better with these because it's way, way softer, and it's just like, it's so easy to fill in the paper without using any pressure on it, which is just, I don't know, delightful. Like, it's just nice to have really good materials to work with. They are a little expensive. I think there's something like, how much are these things? Like maybe $1.80 a pencil. So, I mean, if you buy a box of them, they're a little expensive, but it's totally worth it. It's totally, totally worth it. Because, like, you spend less on the regular generals, but it kind of shows a little bit. These are just super good. Especially if you're working on a drawing that you need to fill in a ton of black. It's just way more enjoyable. If it's a lighter drawing, you can probably just use the regular generals and they're less expensive. But if you have a ton that you need to fill in, oh my gosh, just spend the extra couple bucks and buy these. Fantastic. Mechanical graphite holder, that's my favorite, is like $7, but it's made of metal, so it evens out, I guess. Yeah, it is worth it though to initially spend a little bit more, get a really good product that'll just last, rather than repeatedly having to replace something because it's made really badly. I agree. Like, I spend more on these pencils, but they last longer, they work better, I'm happier with the drawing, so like it's worth the extra expense rather than struggling with my materials for, you know, weeks and like still not being happy with it. Yeah, I think it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it than just buying a piece of crud, you know? So when I bought my camera, it was kind of the same thing. We were originally going to buy just like a cheap point and shoot, but that kind of defeated the purpose because I wanted this to take really good photos of my artwork and like reference shots and stuff. So we ended up getting a used DSLR, and it was about this, honestly, it was a little more expensive than we were going to spend, but it was used, so we got a really good deal on it. So, and now I'm way more happy with it. So I think it's good to do your homework. And fortunately, Phil is all about doing homework before we buy stuff. Way, way more so than I am. So he's helped me out quite a bit with buying stuff because he's like, hey, why would you buy something crappy when you can have something excellent? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. So that has rubbed off on me a little bit more. It used to be like, whatever, I'll just buy this. So if you do end up using a grid and you're joining a square with a finished or almost finished square, don't worry about this line because this is actually going to blend out once you start filling it in, but you want to make sure that you get the tooth of the paper filled in right up to that other square, where you're going to have this super annoying line that you cannot get rid of. Did I tell you my news? I did, didn't I? Oh, that you quit your job? That you quit the soul-sucking job? Is that the news? Or is there more news? If it's news from today, then maybe not. And drop my second degree. Oh, you did! That's so great. I just think, now it was, you're still studying psychology, correct? And you dropped education, I believe? But that's probably such a relief, though. So when you graduate, what do you hope to do? Like, what's the dream job? What's the job that you're super jazzed about? So I'll be graduating end of summer. That is so awesome. That has to be so exciting. I'm so happy for you. Now, I didn't go to college, but I imagine that if I were in your shoes, I would be really, really stinking excited about it. Phil actually, he went to art school down in Alabama. So he has a BFA in fine art. And he did study photography and all of that stuff. But he says, like, you know, with an art degree, it's tricky because if you don't go to the right school, you won't specifically learn, like, how to paint and draw. You'll learn some things, but it's a little more limited. He learned a lot about photography, though, you know. At this point, my partner isn't graduating to the end of next spring, so I'm stuck in Iowa until then. I can't move to Utah yet. I have actually driven through Iowa. There's a lot of corn there, isn't there? Lots of corn? I've never been to Utah, though. So is your partner, it's all corn! Okay, I'm glad. It is all corn. We actually drove there on our way to Nebraska for a wedding, and I was like, do people actually live here? Because it's like all corn. And it smells like S right now because of the pigs. Oh, really? So we have a lot of dairy farms here in old Wisconsin. And, yeah, so we have a lot of dairy farms, a lot of cows. And so in the summer, it can get a little bit rough. It's a little bit stanky. We don't have a lot of pigs here, though. I can't deal with it. I can never live here the rest of my life. So I plan on dying in Wisconsin. We lived here our whole lives. I was gone for about 4.5 years. Was it 4.5 years? Really? About 4.5 years. and then we moved back here, and I plan on dying here. It does smell sometimes. I'm only here for college. It does smell sometimes, but I feel like cows don't smell like that bad. They can, but not usually. They can. Sorry, I just got a text. But yeah, I have no clue what I want to do for work right now. And you know, I think that's okay. Like, you know what you like to study, and I feel like you'll eventually get to where you want to be. Phil and I are still rather in a transitional period ourselves, because he's in a job that he doesn't like and is very boring. I'm doing really what I love to do because he's in a job that is very boring but very stable. So we're kind of trying to figure out what we want to do, you know, as far as his job. He really does not enjoy it. He is also an artist, and he's a photographer, and like, he's just a very multifaceted, talented person. He has a lot of skills, so we really would like to find something that he can do that he really loves. And it's tough, but I think we're gonna get there, and I think you will too. Like, you'll figure out what you're well, you know, you'll find your way into the right job. That's how I feel about it. It's not bone dry. Cows start to really smell. My mom wants to get back to school after a couple years to get a master's. I don't know if I even want to do that and practice in counseling and stuff. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you kind of have to... It really has to be what you want to do. Like, I don't feel like, and this is just my opinion, I don't feel like you should get more degrees if it's not like your passion. But like, that's just my opinion. And sometimes it's a means to an end. Like, you may not want to do it, but it leads you to where you want to go, then you definitely should do it. So I think it's very specific, you know, and there's not just one right way. A drawing intro course, ooh! The pens start to get really nasty. I can see that. Like, I could see, like, if it's really rainy, ugh, I can't even imagine. But that's so neat. So, Meg, what kind of stuff do you like to draw? That's really cool. That's neat. I'm super happy for you. I'm sad that you missed some of... I figure, why not? Neat. I'm sorry that you missed some of the tutorial today. I hope you saw a little bit of it. But yeah, we'll be doing another one, though. At some point, we'll be doing another portrait tutorial. Like, just how to start a portrait. I think that could be useful. I know Prue was really excited about that, so we'll be doing that next time. Not next stream, but the next time I do a tutorial stream. That's really cool, though. What I like to draw, I wish I was better at drawing, expressing my feelings on paper. I mean, that comes with experience, though. I feel like if you really want to learn it, you're definitely going to learn it if you apply yourself to it. And that's true of anything, but especially with art, if you work at it and you practice and you are, well, for lack of a better term, really into it, then you're going to learn it. You know, just put your back into it. You got this. You got it. You know? That's how I feel about it. And I feel for me, once I started learning a consistent method, it was a much more enjoyable process for me. Especially since I really do like to work realistically. Once I figured out, oh, that's how it's done. And then you keep practicing and you keep learning, and I think you'll get there. I want a job where I can be creative all the time. That is so one job you might really like, and I'm not saying to do this, but one job that I flippin' loved was paint and sip, where you bring people together, they all have a drink, and you paint the same painting together. It is a hoot. I loved that job. The only reason I am not doing that job now, well, A, you know, the whole shutdown stuff, and B, there's not one around here that's like really well managed. The one I worked at in Pennsylvania, oh, it is the best. If you find one that is well managed, because I worked at one in Pennsylvania that was like the best. Great management, great clients, Super fun job, really high energy, very creative. I loved it. I loved it. But then when we moved back here, I worked for another one that was horribly managed. And to the point where they were doing some stuff that was pretty much criminal. I had to leave because they would sometimes just decide I had already gotten paid. It was pretty bad. It was not a good situation, so I had to get out of that. And I miss it though, because even though that place was horribly managed, the going to head out was a fun stream. Hey CAI, thanks so much for hanging out. I'll see you around, friend, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care. Enjoy. Salt Lake City, and there are some. Do it! It's so much fun. Oh, it's the best. I loved that job. I loved it. Seriously, if there was one around here, I would at least work there part-time. Because I love it. Especially if you're good with people. Yeah, you've got to do it. You have to. It's a great job. Honestly, the ones I worked at, they paid pretty well, too. And you get tips if you're worried about that. It's really fun. It pays pretty well. It's pretty flexible too. That was the other good thing about it was the schedule. I mean, usually you work kind of evenings, but the schedule's pretty flexible. Like if you only have like 2 days a week to work, they'll work with you. So I loved it. I think you would enjoy it. And you get to work with so many just great people. And honestly, the reason the customers are usually so great is they're just there to have fun. They're not there to, because they have a problem. They're there because they want to have a good time. It's not like you're working in a job where you're fixing people's complaints or something. It's just a lot of fun. Oh, it's great. I actually still have some really good friends from the paint and sips I worked at. I actually do a lot of commission work for those peeps too, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, really, I mean, it's like a really high energy, upbeat. I loved it. I just loved it. Like I missed that job. It was great. And my boss was fantastic. I'll for sure keep that in mind. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, my boss was great too. Like everyone just got along so well. It was like the perfect job. I loved it. If you do that though, let me know. There's some down in Des Moines, so maybe I could do that the last year I'm here. You could. It's a fun job. I'll be moving closer to Des Moines likely at the end of summer. Yeah, I mean, I think you'll really like it. I loved it. It was like the best job. Even when it was horribly managed, I still loved the job itself. Even though the person running it was just, I don't even know. We won't get into that, but I still loved the events. I loved the clients. I just loved the people. If you're a people person, like it is, and creative, it is ideal. Absolutely ideal. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Let me tell you a story. Fantastic. I'm gonna look at that. Yes, do it. There was one I was going to apply at, but then it closed, and I was so sad. I was like, no! And I don't have a car, so that might be a problem. Can't really walk that distance. Not that healthy. But yeah, 10 out of 10. Would work there again. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for following Art Pibble. What a fun name, little Art Pibble. That's a fun name. Let me tell you a story. Thank you so much for the follow. We're owling today. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll let you know. Oh, Jiminy T crickets. Jiminy T to the cricket. Another thing that's important that I didn't do, because again, half the time I don't follow my own advice, even if this little square isn't going to stay like a solid black, you should still do that little sweep thing just to get the excess charcoal off, so you're not fighting against all this schmutz. Just keep that in mind. There we go. That's better. How about that? How about that? Remember those places that had glazed paintings? Wait, do you remember those places that had glazed painting things? Like you go and pick one out and paint. Oh, you mean like pottery? Is that what you mean? Like pottery or like paint pouring? I feel like we have a place here that does like pottery stuff. Is that what you mean? I actually would really like to just go as a guest to one of these places. I feel like that would be really fun. I've gotten to do it like one time at my old place. There was like cats, dogs, starfish, heart. Oh, yeah. I do remember those places. I think we still have one somewhere around here. At least I hope we do. Well, you need to do it. Do it. And the thing is, like, if you are looking for a job, now is the time to do it because everywhere is just hiring and they're desperate for people. So, like, you kind of have, like, kind of can take your pick because there's so many opportunities at the mall in Houston, but it closed by the time we moved back to Texas. Oh no, sad day. So sad. That's the worst. I've never gotten to actually go to one of those. I know they exist, but I've never gotten to go to one. Wait a minute. Oh, whoops. I got this backwards. Hold on. Sometimes I get confused. Yeah, you can kind of see the advantage of working in squares, though, because you can break it down a little bit easier. Yeah, you have to go. You need to go. That's so awesome. Unless you mean you have to leave the stream, in which case that's it. Where are we going? Is this about EaselCon 2022? We're talking about paint and sips right now, Prue, but we need to plan EaselCon. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the hijinks that we would get up to? Can you imagine? EaselCon 2022. It even has a good ring to it. We could do a paint and sip. That'd be fun. Oh, okay, you don't. Gotcha. I have a propensity for misunderstanding what people say to me on here. Gee, that's never happened before, right? 2022, this convention is banned in 37 states. Mostly Hawaii. Don't ask me why. We have to do it like underground style. In like a cellar. In some creepy cellar. I could see us doing that though. Like having it in a super spooky setting. Hawaii and Alaska. Oh, big time Alaska, yep. I don't even think moose are real, so of course they're not gonna let me there. Of course they're not. Yeah, we would be up until 3 a.m. just painting. We totally would. Spelling Hawaii. Me too. One lone light in the ceiling. Yeah, exactly. It's like something straight out of a horror movie, but it's like super fun and not horror movie-esque at all. It would just be kind of funny because it wouldn't match what was happening at all. Warehouse, basically a rave without the lights, music, or drugs. There's going to be so many snacky snacks there too. So it'll be like a rave, but with much, much better snacks. I think we're all very pro-snack here, so I have no issues with this. This sounds perfect. It sounds perfect to me. I love it. Oh, love it. Oh, don't care. Oh, love it. A TikTok girl who brought a weighted dinosaur stuffed animal at Target. I was at Target and bought the only one left. Yes! Sushi platter count as a snack tray because I'd bring one. Those would be very popular snacks. Not so much with me, but everyone else would be pretty happy about that. I think that counts. We can go high-end snacks. I also love a weighted dinosaur. I need one of those. I need one. I'm going to look for one when I go to Target. I will definitely look for one because I think I need it, you know? It weighs like a 6-month-old. That's fantastic. Beautiful. BEA to the beautiful. That's how I feel about it. I have a weighted blanket, but it only weighs like 12 pounds. Kids blankets and pillows section. I am literally going to look for this. This sounds stinking fantastic. I have a weighted blanket, but it only weighs like 12 pounds. And I realize the heavier it is, the more I like it. So I might get a heavier one. And on the boys' side, because Target is sexist. Hello, everyone can like dinosaurs. But in all honesty though, my little nephew, he stinking loves dinosaurs. It's so funny. I'm probably going to make him some sort of dinosaur present at some point. I think, but I also love dinosaurs. I've always loved them. Like, Jurassic Park is the best movie ever made. The original, of course. The original. I know, I love dinos. Like, 12 pounds to it's not... I know, it's not quite heavy enough. I agree. Like, I want mine to be like 25 pounds. I want a 25-pounder. That's what I want. I need that. I needs it, my precious. Precious. So guys, I think we're probably in about 5 Minaronis. We're gonna do a raid. But this has been such a... My dino is a Triceratops. I also love Triceratops. I also really like Dilophosaurus. A good solid Dilophosaurus. The one that spits venom. I like him. I like his hood. I love dinos so much. I can see you liking dinos too, because you're like a creature artist. So they're probably very appealing to you. I love them all. I do love the T-Rex though. Like, I do love a classic T-Rex. They're cool. They're kind of, you know, with the little arms and the bad attitude. I mean, they're kind of fantastic. Let's be honest here. Dinos are the bomb diggity. Sister can name every dino by scientific name. She works at the University of Utah's Science Museum. That is so cool. I don't really know any scientific names, so I'm impressed by that. I really am. Like, I don't really know any scientific names at all. Dilophosaurus is great, but it makes me sad every time I remember they were not like that. I ignore it, and I'm like, they're exactly how I'm picturing them. Like, I know they think that dinos had, like, feathers on them, and I'm like, nah, I just picture them like the Jurassic Park style, you know? I don't even know them. We went there with her, and she was naming them all, and I was like, bruh. You were like, so I have I don't know if Leaf Sheeps is still on here or not, or if she's lurking, but she's a scientist, so she knows all sorts of science-y things, and it's always very impressive. Like, I don't know a thing about it. I know a little bit about birds, but not much. I don't know any of their scientific names. She's so smart. Yeah, science people, they be smart, and I just have to sit back and admire their knowledge, and go, I probably won't ever know stuff like that. Because they'll tell me those things and I'll be like, it's cool, but I know I'm not going to remember it. Because again, terrible memory. Just it's annoying. It is annoying to have bad memory. Jurassic Park dinos are much cooler than what they really look like. So my strategy is to just ignore actual science and just picture them like the Jurassic Park dinos. Because I emotionally can't handle them not looking like that, so we're just gonna stick with what I know. Is the Brontosaurus because they tried to cancel it and failed? So you're like rooting for... I know, I remember them saying, oh, that wasn't a real dinosaur, and then they were like, oh, wait, no, it was. And I'm like, okay, so basically, yeah, how do you cancel a dino? Like, don't we have skeletons? Am I confused? I agree, though, Prue. I was rooting for that dinosaur. And I remember someone recently saying, oh, that wasn't real. And I'm like, It was real. Nice try. Nice try, scientists. See, this is why I prefer to picture them as the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, because they could be wrong. I mean, they're trying to cancel the whole species, for crying out loud. So I'm just saying, they could be wrong. They might look exactly like those dinosaurs. Science and all that stuff. You know. Sometimes 2 and 2 really does make 5, you know. They came to the conclusion that the Apatosaurus and the Brontosaurus are the same creature. Since the Apatosaurus came first, it's technically the valid one. Ah! But when they were talking about how Spinosaurus might have a paddle tail, okay, that I'm fine with. I want to picture that with a paddle tail. I'm okay with that. Paddle tail seems dope. I'm going to legally change my name to Paddle Tail. And people will be like, why? Because I'm like, Spinosaurus. Is that why he went to the doctor? Because his spine was saurus? Spinosaurus is my favorite guy.
Crossfire!
Oh my gosh, what an intro, Soaps. What an intro. Fantastic. I hope you are having a great day. Thank you so much for the bitty doodle dandies. I hope you are doing fantastic, friend. I spit. I'm so sorry if you saw that. Hello! How is your day going? How is your Wednesday? Crossfire! It really scared me. You did get me. You got me. I'm sure that was the goal to terrify me. Triceratops and Stegosaurus. I also like those. Really, there isn't a dinosaur that I dislike. We're talking about dinosaur Soaps. Feel free to join in. I was going for a bit of spook. Oh, you got me. It's the last thing I ever expected. Crossfire! But nobody expects to get caught up in the crossfire. I think that's why it's so dangerous. You know, because nobody ever sees that coming. How about that? How about that? But yeah, what's your favorite dino, Soaps? Tell us your favorite dinosaur. Constantly on edge because of the crossfire. Duck caught up in the crossfire. Crossfire. I'm also very jumpy, so I feel ya. Scared of nothing and everything all at once. Transformers, dinos, bots. Pterodactyls are flippin' sweet. Come on. Transformers? I'm not as into Transformers, but if there's a Transformer shaped like a dinosaur, I'm on board. I am on board. Dinobots roll out. Roll out. Dinobots. If you are a robot shaped like a dinosaur, I will automatically be your friend. Like, there's no question. It's just we're automatically friends, okay? Like, there's just no question. There's no question here. So quick to put down Transformers, they're more than meets the eye. Oh my word. That's like a life lesson. Don't judge a Transformer by its shell, you know? Don't do it. It's wrong. It's just wrong. But if you're a dinosaur-shaped one, I'll automatically like you. Like, literally, you could punch me in the face, and I'll be like, it's okay, I forgive you. Because dinosaurs. I mean, like, would I prefer not to be punched in the face by a Transformer? Absolutely. But if it happens, I'm prepared to cross that bridge. Are kind of creepy but cool at the same time. That's true of a lot of animals, though. Like, there's a lot of animals where I'm like, I'm slightly afraid of you, but I still like you, you know? As a kid, all I drew was dinosaurs. That is flippin' fantastic. I know I used to draw velociraptors, like, a lot. But really not a lot of other dinosaurs. I mostly drew cats. And dogs. A lot of dogs and some owls. If you get punched by a Transformer, it's the same as getting hit by a car. So true story, okay? Get ready to be disappointed by the story. I have been hit by a car. However, the car was going about 1 mile per hour. But I can say I got hit by a car. And even when it's moving 1 mile per hour, it still kind of hurts. Like, it still hurts. Boo! It still kind of hurt, you know? We were, you know, when you seat swap, like, you've been hit by a car too. You know, like when you stop at a train and you get out and you all switch seats? So that's what we were doing. Oh, same situation. That's what we were doing. But the person who was in the driver's seat forgot to put the car in park, so it started to roll, and the car rolled into me. And also, she completely freaked out and forgot to take off her seatbelt, so she was also trapped in the car, forgot to put it in park. Thank goodness she was in the car, because she was able to put it in park before it actually ran over me. True story, true story. Anyway, we don't really do those anymore. Mostly because my friend was driving to the parking lot and I jumped in front and she slowly hit my shins. It hit me on the hip, actually. It was quite painful. I've never been hit directly. I just got ejected from a vehicle on an interstate, looks at the ground and kicks rocks. Oh my gosh, Prue, how did that happen? Yeah, that's so lame. What? Oh my gosh. Prue! That sounds kind of terrifying, huh? What did you do, Prue? Are you okay emotionally? It was decades ago. I've been in a few accidents. One was on an interstate. We were going 70 and there was black ice. Eject button like James Bond or Inspector Gadget. It's like up, do-do-do-do-do-do. That's very debatable. I mean, Prue been through it. Literally. Are any of us really fully okay? But is that okay? We accept it. We accept it here. If you're a world-class weirdo, you are welcome. In fact, it's encouraged. Spy Kids or The Incredibles? Exactly. Either Inspector Gadget or The Incredibles. Do-do-do-do-do. Inspector Gadget. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I don't blame you. Alright. So we should probably wrap stuff up. Who should we raid today? This has been a hoot. This has truly, truly been a hoot, Nanny. Rabin, hello, I.I. How's it going, friendo? Weird people find me weird. Ray Nicoria? What does she do? He? She? Weird people find me weird. I don't find you weird, Garnot. I don't know, am I not weird though? I don't really know. I have no self-awareness. I don't know if I'm weird or not. Maybe I'm completely normal. I don't know. This was like 1980, 1981, back of the van, laying down in the back, got hit in the left rear by a drunk driver, back doors open, and I flew out, landed on grassy exit by a turn. Oh my gosh. She's drawing dragons. Heck yeah, we could do that. The V Zulaz. All you normies in here. We're so normal. Sometimes I have no self-awareness though. I can be normal. I just, you know, it's not as much fun though. Yeah, I know, Prue, that's a crazy story. I'm glad you're okay. Jiminy T. Cricket. I'm covered in sharks right now. So, let's see. Jiminy T. Cricket starts chanting dragons. All right, we can go watch some dragons. Okay, Nicoria is that Nicoria? Dino. It's kind of like a dino. I mean, it seems appropriate. I feel like let's go check her out. Let's see what she's up to. But Imagine Dragons, Dino. We should draw a dinosaur. That'd be flipping Jane and the Dragon. Heck yeah. Okay, let me just copy down her name so I get it right. Okay. I identify as a dino now. I'm so excited. Sweet. All right, so before we raid, I just want to say thank you all so much for a fun stream. It was really fun. I enjoyed rambling. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I hope you found some of them helpful. We will be doing another tutorial stream at some point, and we'll be talking about doing an initial drawing. And we'll have a Thursday stream tomorrow. Double excited. Ooh, yes. And tomorrow, we will be starting Pirate Kitty. So I'm going to draw that out tonight and tomorrow and hopefully get it done in time. I'm going to cram to get that done. Usually I give myself a little bit more time, but we had a huge printing debacle. Oh, yes. Anyway, but this has been so much fun. I appreciate all of you. For all of you who are new here, welcome. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Welcome to the Hoot Nanny, kids. And Pirate Kitty, don't get caught up in the Pirate Kitty. I'm very excited about it though. So it's for the awesome binary stitch, and she's a hoot. She's a hoot. So, anywho, but yeah, you guys, let's go raid. Let's. I hope you guys can hang out. I'll be hanging out for a little bit there myself, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 Central Time. You are all a delight. I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. I hope that you all have a fabulous evening / morning / night / whatever time it is by you, but I'm gonna hit you with one of these ba-boom ba-bam. Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye. Love y'all. Bye. crossfire. Don't get caught up in the crossfire. A crossfire. Brought to you by Crossfire. I find her on her phone. Do 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 do.